Boys in the back. Boys.
What is good? We are back. Another episode of Boys in the Back. Thursday, February 6th. My favorite month of the year. I absolutely love February. If you know me, you know I love February. I am your host, Connor Burks. One half of the dynamic duo, the best in the game. My man Eric Jackman sitting opposite of me. How we doing, brother?
It's a beautiful day. I'm happy.
Is it? Actually, it's like a slushy, disgusting shit show outside.
You're right. Outside, it is a nasty day. In here,
the lights
it's
are
beautiful.
bright. The lights are warm. I mean, it feels like we're in Australia almost. I mean, it's just the sun.
Down under.
Might as well be in Sydney at this point. I got my Socceroos jersey on to support. We're just going to have to rock the laptop a little bit lower so you guys can see. Soccer jerseys are tough, man. I went XL for one, and it was like way too tight. I go double X for this, and now it's like a tent on me.
Same brand? Are they both Nike?
No.
See, that's the thing. It's across the...
That's the tricky part.
Tough to dial in.
We did mention Down Under. That's where the UFC card takes place this weekend, UFC 312. We've talked about it. We've touched on it. I've seen a lot of people say some things about this card. Your excitement for this card, and just before you answer... 2 title fights, DDP Sean Strickland rematch, Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez finally getting her chance at a belt. But 12 of the 26 fighters on the card have 10 or less professional bouts. 19 of 26 fighters on the card have 15 or less professional bouts. The only ranked fighters on the card are the 4 and the 2 championship bouts. And there are 6 debuting fighters on a pay-per-view card.
This is good data for me to know before I give my grade. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. 5 out of 10 for a pay-per-view card or just a UFC card period?
Just a UFC card period.
Yeah. I mean, this one is it's a bit of a tougher sell to the casual fans.
The number one thing that I'm most excited about is knowing who's going to face Khamzat Chimaev. That's literally the thing I'm most excited about.
Despite the man holding the belt, DDP, fighting, trying to defend his belt, this is all just a sweepstakes to fight Khamzat Chimaev.
In my mind, yes, because I think Khamzat's the best middleweight on the planet, and so that is where my head is at. I would be lying if I said I'm not at least a little bit compelled by the main event. I think there's something interesting to talk about in it, but ultimately it does almost feel like there's one more step beyond that, and I feel like a lot of people feel like this is the sweepstakes for Khamzat. Let's
get into the Khamzat aspect in just a second, but let's set the table on what it is. I mean, it's Dricus du Plessis, rematch against Sean Strickland. We've seen both the guys since. Last time they fought at 297, January of last year in Canada. We've seen, obviously, DDP fight Israel Adesanya, get a finish win, retain his championship belt. Sean Strickland against Paulo Costa gets the win there. Now we get the rematch here. I mean, very close fight. I went back and watched it this week. 48-47, there was the headbutt. Sean Strickland outlands him, but DDP's getting takedowns. Like, it was a very, very close fight. And I'm excited for this weekend because I don't think it's going to go that way. I don't know how it's going to be different, but I don't think we're just going to get another 48-47 on 2, 48-47 the other way on 1, split decision, very close fight. I think it's going to be a different outcome this time around.
Okay, it's interesting you say that because then to me, and you tell me if I'm correct, that would mean I think you think DDP is going to win easier.
I do, personally, just because of the chaos factor of Dricus du Plessis. 20 of his 22 wins are by finish. Everyone, I mean, we saw Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker talking, and they're just like, he's the best, worst fighter there ever is. Everyone's just like, I don't understand his style. I don't get the way he fights. Darren Till has talked about it. Like, everyone who fights him is just like, yeah, I just don't get it. He just has this chaotic nature. He's giant in there. He is incredibly strong, and he has finishing capabilities on the feet and on the mat. Like, I think there will be more of a chaos factor to this one, especially after spending 25 minutes in the octagon with each other just a year ago.
That all makes sense to me. I arrived at that conclusion because Sean Strickland fights the exact same way every single time. If you're predicting something different, it means it's on the DDP side because Sean Strickland is going to go out there and do the exact same thing. He's going to try and push the pace. He's going to throw jabs. He's going to throw teeps, and he's going to be in DDP's face trying to pressure him. And DDP is going to be pushing right back and doing the wild, chaotic stuff that he does. And if there's going to be any way that this fight goes differently, it's because I think DDP has learned some lessons from the first one and tries to do something different. the gift and the curse of Sean Strickland, his greatest attribute and the thing that goes against him the most is the fact that he fights exactly the same way every time. And so if he steps in there, you know that you're going to have a fight on your hands because he's going to be doing those things. He's going to be pressing forward. He's going to be jabbing you in the face. He's going to be trying to keep you at the range that he likes it. But also it's pretty predictable, right? It is exactly the style. I would expect that DDP is expecting exactly the same style out of Sean Strickland that he saw last time. And so I think I kind of feel the same way. I feel like this is Dricus's fight to lose. And if he can take the lessons that he learned in the first fight, the areas that he was more successful and the areas that he didn't have much success, and kind of be more efficient with his movements and be more efficient with his strategy, I feel like he's got the advantage.
Yeah, and something else I wanted to note, I went back just through the history of championship rematches. Just kind of like, thinking about the fact that, like, will it just be the same result? And obviously there's been ones that have ended very similarly, like Max Holloway, Jose Aldo, almost to a second ended the exact same way. Holloway, Volk, 3 decisions there. Nunez, Shevchenko, that one, both in decisions. But man, I went back through it. There have been a lot that ended differently the second, third, or fourth time around. Like Islam fights Volk to a decision at 284, KO'd in the rematch. Usman Masvidal, 251, wins by decision, 261, KOs him. Moreno Figgy. First fight, draw decision. Second fight, Moreno subs him. Third fight, Figgy decision. Fourth fight, Moreno KOs him. All 4 having different outcomes. Cormier Stipe, Cormier KO, Stipe KO, Stipe decision. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jones Gustafson, decision, then KO. I'm just saying, like, there have been so many championship rematches throughout the history of the UFC, and like, there have been a ton of them that the result has been different.
Do you happen to have the number of times the person who won the first fight wins those ones?
I wish I did. I mean, a lot of these that I'm listing are like Rose KOs. I mean, Rose's, all of her championship rematches have ended differently. Subbed Carla in the first, loses by decision. Or subbed by Carla in the first, loses by decision in the second. KO'd by Andrade in the first, wins by decision in the second. KO'd Weili in the first, wins by decision in the second. Like, there are so many times where just like the outcome is different even when they're rematching in the championship bouts. I just don't think, I just see a lot of people being like, yep, lock, this one's going decision, and just flip a coin on who wins.
I think I'm with you on that. I don't think that it necessarily has to go to decision. Would I be shocked though? No.
No, because of course, it's a Sean Strickland fight.
It's a Sean Strickland fight, and we know, again, I keep pointing to this, I think we kind of know what he's going to do. Now, granted, it would be disrespectful to his coaches. It would be disrespectful to him as a fighter to say, like, it's exactly the same, right? I'm sure there are adjustments that he can make and things that he will learn. Coach Eric Nixick is brilliant. Like, there's no way that it's exactly the same. But due to who Sean Strickland is and how he will have his most success, the style is mostly the same, right? There will be variations. There will be ways you can do things differently. Certainly, I think he will be prepared for Dricus du Plessis, but his main goal is to be on the gas pedal and popping the jab and doing the things that keep him busy and active and stifle what Dricus wants to do.
Honestly, I also don't think he could be underrated. Like, I think DDP is really coming into his own as a champion in the UFC. He's still only 31 years old. Like, he looks huge this week. I don't know if it's just who he's taking picture with.
He's
like
a big boy.
The one he took with Bisping, I'm just like, and Bisping was like, I'm 222 in this one. And like, he looks just like, he's just like so much bigger than him. He's been in the game less time. Like, I know he's still got 22 or 24 professional fights, whatever it is. He's been in the game for a while, but I mean, Sean Strickland's been in the UFC for a minute. I feel like he's really starting to come into his own, getting comfortable as a champion. I mean, we heard him talking before the Adesanya fight when everyone was against him. He was like, I was more nervous for that one than I was for the Strickland one when I took the belt.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's starting to get these reps, get this experience, and becoming more comfortable as a champion.
Yeah, and if you look at the resume, he's building up quite the resume in a very short amount of time. Like, there's the names on that list are the best names of this generation.
Strickland, Whitaker, Till. Now he's trying to get Strickland again.
These champions that have reigned before him, he's got their names on his resume, and now he's getting another crack at Strickland.
All right, so we talk about Strickland fights similarly in most of his fights. How does he change the game plan and win this time? Puts a stamp
question
on it and make sure that, because I mean, I know it's not a cumulative score. I understand it is round by round and everything like that. But like, if you look at the final stats from the fight, like, he was outstriking him in most of the rounds. And DDP had to rely on the takedowns to score the rounds for him. How does he make sure? Like, does he just outland him by that much more this time? Does he stuff the takedowns?
My amateur analysis is he just has to be busier. He has to be busier. He has to be more Sean Strickland. He has to do more of the jabs, more of the teeps, keep DDP from mounting any offense with his own offense. That's my amateur take. If he gets into a fight where they're trading, I mean, unless you have a different assessment, the first fight was them just kind of taking turns doing that, right? It was like, I'm getting my offense off, you're getting your offense off, and they're kind of just volleying. They're kind of just doing it back and forth. I think Strickland has to close the number of times that DDP gets those opportunities. If he can shorten the amount of times that DDP is going to be able to get his own offense and mount his offense, he's going to win because he's going to always be able to put out a higher volume, a higher output than most people. His cardio is always there. You don't have to worry about the power of Sean Strickland necessarily, right? We saw the moment where he rocked Israel Adesanya, but outside of that, most of the time, you're more worried about the volume and more worried about the activity of Sean Strickland. So I think if he can double that, if he can really press the pace to a degree that we probably haven't seen, he's going to be more effective at that. The problem that creates is now you're opening opportunities for Dricus to like use your aggression against you, right? If you're constantly doing that, there's going to be more openings just naturally because you're giving more openings as opposed to being defensive. Strickland's a really good defensive fighter, right? When he wants to be, like, he's not somebody who's getting bombed on all the time. He really like covers well and is able to parry attacks. But I really feel like offense is the key to it because if he lets DDP have those moments, I think DDP is much more likely to get a finish, a much stronger fighter when they're going to have moments where they clinch up or are in a grappling situation. A better wrestler. Like, there's really just opportunities, I think, for DDP to assert himself if Strickland leaves the openings. But if he leaves no openings, there really is a path to victory for Sean Strickland.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that. Just looking at the statistics, I was just mentioning how Sean Strickland outlanded him 173 to 137 on significant strikes. And you said to be more Sean Strickland, he threw 408 significant strikes in that fight. And that's actually, from what I'm seeing, the second most he's ever thrown in a UFC fight. Only the Uriah Hall fight, he threw more. So it's just like
he has to more.
He has to throw even more. He has to break his own records of, like, he has to throw 600, like 650 to keep DDP off of him and to put the stamp on it to win.
He's going to leave himself open. There's no doubt. Like, it's going to create opportunities for DDP, but I don't see another way. I don't see another path. How do you stop what is essentially like a bull that has been released from the pen in DDP from coming? Like, what is the way other than, like, you can get out of the way, but now you've wasted 30 seconds getting out of the way of the bull, right? And you're doing nothing in that time. You're just avoiding. You have to mount the offense. You have to be the one on the front foot the entire time. Now, we saw it against Israel Adesanya, but Israel Adesanya is an easier fighter to do that against stylistically. I'm not saying like Izzy's an easier fight than DDP. I'm not calling into question the caliber of fighter. But stylistically, Israel is somebody who's going to be on the back foot and allow you to do that so he can counter and be elusive at times. DDP is not that guy. DDP is also looking to come forward. So you have to stifle his forward momentum the same way he's trying to stifle yours by being in your face. You have to increase the activity. I imagine that's the best path to victory for most people against DDP. If you can be more aggressive than he is and stop him from being aggressive back at you, you're putting yourself in a good position. The problem is he's extremely aggressive and it's very hard to do. I think Strickland has the cardio and the skill set to do it, though. I don't think he's out of his depths. As you've pointed out, he already is throwing 400 strikes. Yeah. How do you even amplify that more?
Well, I saw DDP in an interview this week. He was talking about, like, someone was asking him essentially this question, just like, how do you react to someone that's just always in your face, that just stays on the gas the entire time, that's always putting out their own offense? And DDP was just like, with your own offense.
That's like, it.
Just make it into a car crash.
This is a fight between two guys whose best weapon is movement forward, is putting that pressure on you. And it's different from, like, let's say, like Merab Dvalishvili, right? Merab's putting pressure on you, but it's not with strikes. It's not with having to be effective. Like, he's just, like, spamming. Merab Dvalishvili is coming at you with takedowns, coming at you with punches. It doesn't matter if they land or not. Strickland's game is a lot more predicated on actually landing those punches, right? When he's jabbing you in the face, it becomes a lot harder for you to reset and then try to throw bombs back at him. And he's been super successful with that style. But DDP is somebody who's not afraid to eat a jab and then try to walk forward off that movement. He has to just stick on it. It's a fascinating matchup, and this is where I said, like, I have to admit that I am interested in the fight itself, even though I kind of advertised that Khamzat sweepstakes is my number one. Right. I am fascinated with this fight. I think there's kind of mixed opinion on whether that first fight was a quote unquote like good fight. I enjoyed that fight. I had no issues with that fight. I thought it was quite compelling. I'm interested to see how this one shakes out, but I do feel like the room for improvement is much more on DDP's side because I think he will be able to be a little more diverse and maybe find a finish.
And unless I'm mistaken, Sean Strickland has not. He's had a ton of UFC fights. He's never had a rematch, and especially not after 25
Is that
minutes.
True? Wow.
Unless I'm mistaken, just looking at his record, I could be overlooking someone, but I don't think he has, and I don't think he has for a 25-minute affair. And so you hint at like his game plan is pretty well known at this point. Do you think the 25 minutes already being in there with Sean Strickland benefits DDP more than Sean Strickland already being in there for 25 minutes with DDP?
Yeah, it's a good question. The natural assumption would be it benefits Strickland because
you get used to the chaotic style.
Yeah, you see the chaos that DDP is bringing, and also again, not to harp on the point and not to be underestimating like what adjustments you can make as Sean Strickland. You kind of know what you get with Sean Strickland. Like if you've watched the tape on the Israel Adesanya fight, or if you watch the tape on any of the other fights, you go, okay, I see what the path is here, but can you stop it? Is kind of the Sean Strickland question isn't like what's he going to do. The Sean Strickland question is how the hell are you going to stop what he's able to do?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering how it's going to look. That's why I'm so fascinated by this fight. I want to know how it's going to look.
But it's kind of the same question for DDP, which is the fun part.
I can't tell you how it's going to be different. Like you just mentioned earlier, you're like, in my amateur opinion, I am an amateur when it comes to this. I don't know how it's going to look different. I can't sit here, Demetrius Johnson, tell us straight and be like, this is what they need to do differently. I just have this gut feeling that it is going to look different in some way, shape, or form.
How about this? If it plays out the same way again, to me, that's an advantage for Sean Strickland.
Oh, for sure.
If it plays out the same way again, there's plenty of moments where Sean Strickland can just increase the volume. You land a few less than you missed.
Get that headbutt? Like the headbutt opened him up pretty bad.
Yeah, it was a pivotal moment in the fight.
Heads.
To his credit, like he just kept, it bothered him a little bit, but then he kept fighting. Maybe 20% more of those strikes land than don't land, and it's a completely different fight. But if DDP fights a different fight, I think that's a big advantage for him. If he's clinching more, if he's trying to wrestle more, if he's taking it outside of the realm of just, I'm going to strike with Sean Strickland, which, by the way, like, he fought very admirably in just basically striking with Sean Strickland. Like, he did well in against a style that is hard to kind of do well against, especially as somebody who, the book coming into that fight and the book on DDP was like, no cardio, sloppy. And
remember, we got the nasal patches joking up.
Yeah, but like, the lead up to every DDP fight was like, the guy's got no cardio. He's going to gas out in a round. The guys can't strike. He's just winging haymakers. Now, granted, there were some haymakers being swung by both parties in that fight, but I thought he did pretty damn good on his feet just in a point-for-point striking battle with Sean Strickland. If he makes it a little grimier, if he makes it a little dirtier, if he uses his weight and his size, you mentioned like how big he looks, then I think it's a big advantage for him. If it plays out the same way, I do think that Strickland has a little bit of an edge just because that's kind of his wheelhouse. That's how his fighting style is constructed. Now, DDP could very well do the same thing, and maybe he catches a big punch and he's adjusted to that, and he's kind of found Strickland's rhythm. But I guess I expect that DDP is going to approach this a little bit differently. I think he's going to try to do what I'm suggesting, which is like, make Sean Strickland a little more uncomfortable with his size and with his aggressiveness and his power.
It's hard to imagine he's not going to, just with the way that we've seen him fight throughout his entire career, even before the UFC. Like, if you go back and watch the Soldich fight that he won, like, it is just pure chaos the entire time. And, like, that's normally what we see, and I think he goes back to that here. I think there's a level of chaoticness in this fight that shakes things up.
One of the things that I often think about when it comes to modern MMA, especially because as it has like kind of moved much more towards striking than grappling, there's kind of these ebbs and flows, right? There's eras where it's like you get the GSPs and the Habibs, and then all of a sudden the meta becomes like takedown control, and you have these different styles. I feel like it's in a striking phase right now, right? We had Israel Adesanya as champion for a long time, and the book was like, just take him down. Alex Pereira is champion, just take him down. But like, we don't see guys just like shooting across for doubles, except for maybe Khamzat Chimaev.
DDP just kind of stumbles into it.
Well, DDP,
and then you're on the ground, and then you're getting subbed by him.
Well, DDP's
like,
just
one again,
picking you up and dumping you because he's a horse of a man. But the meta seems to be primarily more of like striking affairs, and so I do wonder, as you break down a lot of these fights, to me, the differentiator maker in a lot more of these contests is power, because if you don't have power and you know that it's going to engage in a striking battle, if the terms of engagement are, we're going to stand here and throw punches, DDP is less scared of Sean Strickland because of that lack of power than Sean Strickland has to be of DDP. And so the power really is like a true difference maker in the fight. I thought about this when it came to Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. Now, naturally, that kind of played out as a grappling affair after 2 rounds, but I found it hard to believe that anybody was going to be able to engage with Francis Ngannou in a pure striking battle just because the power is the difference maker, right? If Ciryl Gane is throwing 5 jabs and Francis Ngannou is landing 1 overhand right from hell, he's going to win that every time. And so I think of that when I think of Sean Strickland, is like, without that power, it allows DDP to be in his phase and his zone and not have to worry as much about that. Now, there's a danger there, as we saw against Israel Adesanya. If Sean Strickland lands the right punch, you can get cracked and you can get rocked. Sure. And so it's not this like he has no power, but primarily his tools are not looking for that power shot. His tools are more looking for activity, busyness, pump that jab in your face, and you really just can't like reset. But the power, I think, is going to be a big factor at play here, especially if it becomes a striking contest. And more than that, if DDP just tries to get a hold of him, I wonder what happens. If he's more dedicated and more relentless on that, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think he got 6 takedowns in the first fight, but like wasn't able to rack up a ton of control time, wasn't able to get into dangerous positions or anything.
It felt more like that Merab thing that I'm talking about, where it was like opportunistic, but it wasn't necessarily a concerted. Throw it in there,
make you think about it,
exactly.
Score some points by doing it. I mean, I really am. I'm fascinated for it. These guys, they have a respectful beef. Like they talk a lot of shit,
like
but I think they actually like each other. And what is very intriguing to me, you mentioned it right off the rip of the show, is Khamzat sort of looming behind them, one of the biggest stars in the UFC. And, Sean Strickland has become a star in his own right.
Oh, yeah.
Being boisterous on the microphone, winning a title, everything like that. DDP is coming into his own as a star. I think he's starting to build a giant fan base. But I think the winner of this one will fight Khamzat after this for the middleweight title. Nasruddin Imavov, incredible win against Adesanya, but
that's not the one.
Khamzat Chimaev is one of the biggest stars that they have. He's coming off of ripping Robert Whittaker's head off of his body, breaking his jaw.
Yep.
And now he's doing the work this week by sitting there on Twitter. I don't know who's making these videos for him, who's making these posts, but he is getting active on Twitter. He is talking shit to Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's talking shit to him in media. DDP's mentioning Khamzat Chimaev's name. Like his name is being thrown around all around this fight.
Yeah, so much so that like it almost feels like Sean Strickland has prepared more material and more things to say about Khamzat Chimaev than he has about his opponent DDP. But you mentioned both of them mentioning him. I want to bring up a quote here. This was what DDP said earlier at the press conference. I would have preferred that Khamzat fight, but Sean Strickland was the one. So him basically coming out and just being like, I wanted to fight Khamzat, but it ended up being Sean Strickland.
He either said it in an interview or on Twitter before this, after the Strickland fight was made. He was like, nah, man, I wanted the Khamzat fight, but they gave me Strickland, so I'll fight Strickland again.
And it's a good matchup, as we went pretty long breaking it down and feeling like I think we're both compelled by it. But it does have the air of just like they both are kind of thinking about Khamzat. And that, I mean, for good reason, right? If that guy is looming and that guy who has such a big presence, such an incredible style, such a big fan base, it feels like it almost can't be avoided because we know he's next. And then we also had some tweets by Sean Strickland and Khamzat going back and forth that you alluded to earlier. Let's do the first one with Khamzat reacting to Sean Strickland's new look. This one kind of kicked things off a little bit.
This is what started it. Sean Strickland at the press conference talking about obviously his relationship to Kadyrov and Chechnya and everything like that, and then Khamzat getting on Twitter and throwing beef at him, and now Khamzat has a string of tweets at Strickland.
Well, we also have Sean Strickland tweeting. So he has really like honed in on this Khamzat Kadyrov angle. Yeah. This is his angle, which is that he's basically in servitude to the dictator. And so we have the we have this.
Why more losses?
We might as well talk about this one, which is Khamzat just pointing out like Sean Strickland's career hasn't been like flawless, right? Also, in the way that his has.
Also, if you just look at the numbers, like 1.1 million views on this tweet. He got 19,000 likes on the one just of Sean Strickland with the mustache. 65,000 likes, 3.2 million views. Like the guy is like performing insanely on social media. He has a massive fan base. Like the fan base is hungry to see him fight for a title. Like he's at like follower count and like engagement rates of like Jon Jones, who's been around the game for that. Islam Makhachev.
Big announcement coming later today, by the way, from Jon Jones.
Hopefully we'll be on the air when he makes the announcement. I cannot wait for that one. He hit like his fan base seems to be at the same level, like 9.3 million on IG. Like it's unfortunate for Nasruddin Imavov. Like it's an incredible win against Adesanya, but he's clearly second here.
It just is what it is, and I can't remember if I said this last week on the Boys in the Back or if I said this on the Ariel Helwani show, but Khamzat Chimaev is the A side. He's not the champion, but he will be the A side of that championship bout, whether it be Dricus or Sean Strickland.
There's no question.
Khamzat Chimaev is the A side of that fight, and we see it from the social media following. We see it from the engagement that he gets. I think either one of Dricus and Sean would be a really good foil for him, because I think from the Sean side, he's just going to talk that good shit, and they're going to get into it, and it's going to get really nasty and contentious.
Oh, for sure.
Even so much so, like, let's look at some of the Strickland stuff. You alluded to it earlier about what he said. So, like, Khamzat was talking about why are you a baby crying all the time? Father didn't give you love, or he showed his love to you too much. I mean, a little bit below the belt, right? We know Sean Strickland's relationship with his family. Strickland firing right back. Here's the thing. My dad did hit me with some beer bottles once or twice. LMAO, I will admit it. Made me the man I am today, but I guarantee this little whore sucked off Kadyrov. Obviously not good enough because you had to flee your country. So now he's hitting back below the belt, talking about his family. And so what I found very fascinating about this is they're going low right off the bat. They're attacking each other at their weakest points. He doubled down at that at the press conference. He said basically the same thing, right? That he's in service to him. And then
he's tweeted a couple more times.
But then there's been one where he just goes right after that, like, you know what? Sorry, I changed my mind. Just got done training. My mind is clear. I'm going to lay off Chimaev Chechenian thing. I'm very aware that his family is probably in danger and he probably regrets that relationship. So I'm going to attempt to not go there. Have a good day. Here's to trying. Still, is Bitcoin scam? So he's like, I'm going to be the good guy here. I'm not going to go to that thing. His family's probably in danger.
He says that after already going there. He still has the tweets up of like, not the first time you went to your knees, and it's him sparring against Kadyrov. Like it's like he is not afraid to like go there, and he's going to go there, and like he's honestly like he's made a name for himself and he's become a star. Like it will get nasty and it will get like contentious, and I really think they don't like each other at all, especially how prideful of American Strickland is. Like I think it would be heated, but I think it would be an insane build-up to a fight.
And that's why I think that one works. Now you look at the DDP angle, right? You look at DDP versus Khamzat potentially. DDP would have now, in the last few fights, knocked off Strickland twice, Whitaker, Israel Adesanya, and then all the wins before that. Darren Till, others like
Derek Brunson,
names that like we know and recognize, and the resume is incredible. The championship being taken away from DDP, I think, would feel more significant, right? Than if Sean Strickland wins it back and then Khamzat takes it off him. Because as Khamzat has kind of pointed out, like Strickland's career isn't like spotless, right? It's not a flawless. It's not Khamzat's career where it's like, oh God, this guy ever going to lose? Strickland's lost, but Strickland's thing is that his perseverance, his longevity, his consistency to always be there and always be ready for the opportunity. And again, we see him stepping into a fight where DDP is like, I want Khamzat. The UFC is probably like, we want Khamzat. It doesn't work out, and so Strickland steps right in there.
Availability is the best ability, and we don't know if Khamzat Chimaev was available for this fight.
And Strickland always is, and he's always stepping up. And so this is the thing. Now, granted, he's been calling for this, but it was his time. I do think, though, that it would mean more to take it from a champion like DDP, who's on this incredible run and has all these names on his resume, to be able to say, you took out Izzy, you took out Rob, you took out Strickland, you couldn't take me out. So I think that would really elevate Khamzat in a way I don't know that the Strickland win would. But at the same time, the back and forth, the trash talk, the buildup would also elevate Khamzat in a major way for the Strickland fight. So it's almost a no-lose situation in Khamzat's seat. He gets to sit back and be like, either one of these guys is really going to elevate me even higher. Even though he's the A side, you need those like foils. And I talked about this when we talked about like Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, and you need somebody who's going to take you to the next level in addition to just you taking yourself. And so either one of these guys, I think, is going to be a great matchup for Khamzat. Winnable fights for them as well. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Khamzat goes in there and wins. It's no secret. I do believe he will win, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion by any means.
100% it won't be. I mean, he'll be the favorite in my belief, but it isn't a foregone conclusion. And you make a great point with the foils. Like, Khamzat wouldn't have this with Nasruddin Imavov, with Caio Bahalio, with a Jared Cannonier. Like, that's not there. Like, there feels feels like there's real hatred, like real dislike between Strickland and Khamzat. DDP, though, is always down to talk shit. He does not care who you are. He is a sneaky good trash talker.
He's low-key funny.
Like, Sean Strickland made the joke. He was just like, oh, he fights like he's on a short bus. And he's just like, well, it looks like you're driving it with that weird-ass mustache. Except, no, you can't be around kids anymore. Like, he's just like always going after whoever he's fighting. He shows up with the Trump prefers champion shirt with the belt around his shoulder and everything. Yeah, I mean, he'll talk shit to Khamzat. I don't doubt it, and I think it'll be a great build as well.
His trash talk is almost like his fighting style in that it's just so aggressive and diffusing. By him getting out in front of it, he prevents you from getting him.
I think he made Izzy cry and Strickland cry.
Well, I feel like Izzy was like Izzy was in his own emotions.
I think they were both in an emotional state, but it is just like that's the resume he's building outside of the octagon.
What's so funny is opposite that. Yeah, like for whatever reason that they did, we're brought to tears. He's always sitting there like the 80s like movie bully who's just like grinning ear to ear.
He kind of looks like an 80s movie bully too.
He's
like
perfect.
A good hair, jacked guy. Looks like the football player.
Or like the foreign like evil villain who just like is perfectly like he really just has this like presence and look to him that's perfect for this role. But either way, I'm compelled by this fight. I'm obviously, as I said earlier, more compelled by what's to come, right? Whoever one of these guys fighting Khamzat Chimaev. And then even from there, like a Nasruddin Imavov kind of coming up on the side.
You mentioned that. I love the idea of winner of DDP Strickland gets fights Khamzat Chimaev after this, defends their belt against Khamzat, and then the loser goes and fights Imavov. And if Strickland isn't able to get it done, then you get the rematch between Imavov and Strickland, and you get DDP Khamzat, and then the winner of Imavov Strickland bounces back, because then you could have a fresh matchup with Strickland and Khamzat. There's things to be done at the top of middleweight right now.
There's paths back to the title, even if Strickland, let's say Strickland can beat Imavov, I'm good with Strickland getting a shot at Khamzat if he can get past DDP. Like, you do all the permutations, they all make sense. There's all these good matchups. I'd like to see a little bit of fresh faces. That's why I think Imavov like entering the picture would be interesting and nice. Khamzat himself is a fresh face, right? Like his biggest win is over Robert Whittaker, but I would have loved to see him against the Israels. I would love to see him against the winner of this fight. And so Khamzat presents a new thing. Nasruddin presents a new thing. I'm excited about the future of middleweight. But I'm also like, DDP's on a run right now that like deserves the maximum respect that you can have. Like, especially considering, and I talked about it earlier, the book on him was like so one-dimensional, can't do it. Why would he fight? Why would this guy fight Robert Whittaker? I was saying this. Why would he fight Robert Whittaker when he's this close to the Israel Adesanya fight? He has all this built-in beef. He's going to blow it. Rob's going to blow the doors off him, and he dumps him in one round. Yeah.
Ran through him. It was incredible. I mean, it's just like, you doubt DDP until you don't. Could you imagine if he wins this week?
Does anybody doubt him anymore? I feel like he's beyond it at this point.
Could you imagine, though, if he wins this weekend against Sean Strickland and then he does take on Khamzat Chimaev and he wins that one, too?
Legend status. God,
that would be so crazy.
I was trolling.
Takes Khamzat Chimaev's O. Is Khamzat Chimaev's O like the most valuable O in the sport right now?
That's a great question. Ilya's is pretty good.
Ilya, Shavkat, Khamzat, in whatever order you want to put it, I'd say Ilya's is the most valuable.
Do we count Jon Jones's O as an O?
Yeah. I'm gonna say the one is actually an O there. Man,
if we count Jon Jones, then that's the one.
Jon Jones, Ilya, Khamzat, Shavkat. Is there a fifth one that you can think of off rip?
No, that's probably it. Because we just saw like Umar. We just saw Umar drop one. We just saw. I was going to say Volk, but actually Volk had lost before the UFC.
Yeah. That's a solid
those are the
four
ones,
right there.
But those are pretty great.
That's a solid four right there.
The Jon Jones one is like the one. But you're right. Like it would be very significant. And to the point that I was joking before the show when we were trying to come up with like, what's the angle for this one? I was going to trolling, but only like half be like, is Dricus already the middleweight GOAT? Because if you look at the resume, the dude's racking them up. The dude is putting up some numbers. The dude is putting up some stats.
Trolling, though.
Obviously trolling.
Like, I was just like, no, that's like too trolly. And then like you just go back and look at Anderson Silva's resume and you're like, yeah, dude, we can just stop this. Like, stop.
I'll be honest. I felt like Israel was encroaching. Like, he was coming up on Anderson's butt.
6 title defenses going into that Alex fight, the first one at MSG.
And I've always been more team, and this is for people who are, not 15 years old, but like I was always more Anderson than GSP guy. I always thought that Anderson was more of the GOAT status than GSP. I've had him in that kind of thing. As the career has kind of played out, I feel like just the longevity of GSP and remaining on top for so long kind of pushed him maybe a little bit over. But I was always more Anderson Silva versus GSP just because of what he was able to do in the octagon and finish people. I felt like Israel was getting close. I felt like Israel was like coming up in the conversation where it was like, okay, I don't know if he passed him. I would say most people at this point now certainly don't have it that way. But he's starting to at least make it a conversation where it's like, is this guy going to be the best middleweight of all time? Alex Pereira fight comes, and that kind of like throws the wrench into everything. You get the win back, and you go, oh shit, maybe it's here. Then we go on the skid, and it's kind of veered off from there. I don't know. Look, it's not now, but if you get another win over Sean Strickland, you take Khamzat Chimaev's it's not a conversation where like how far away is the guy? He's probably not there yet because Anderson Silva put in work for so long.
Also, like, that would put him at what? That would put him at 3 title defenses over good names. Like, you'd still have a long way to go. You'd still have a long way to go, but like the resume is starting to rack up a little bit.
Here's the thing, though. The Anderson Silva title defenses started very early in his UFC career, right? So he's had a lot of opportunity to get them. You look at the just opponent for opponent, though, right? Because you look at some of those early title defenses for Anderson Silva, and they're not against guys like they're against the guys the caliber of the Darren Tills and the Derek Brunsons of Dricus's resume. So you can compare the title defenses, and he's going to fall short, as is everybody when you compare to Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, Demetrius Johnson. Those runs are epic, even George St. Pierre. But when you do fight for fight, the dude's resume is pretty fucking stellar. Like, I've got to give it up. I did not see this coming. DDP has really solidified himself as an incredible middleweight. Right now, it's not a conversation.
Yeah.
You get one more, you take out Khamzat Chimaev when nobody could, it starts to become a conversation. We'll save it for that.
We'll save it for that. And see if that actually happens. Do we have an official prediction?
I've got DDP, and I think he might even be able to find a finish in this one.
I'm going to say DDP finish round 3. Somewhere in there.
You're more confident in the finish than maybe me. I'm like wavering a little bit.
I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna eat my words on this, but there's something in my gut that tells me this fight goes differently. I feel like vastly differently than the first one, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. Co-main event.
Yeah. Love
another championship bout. Tatiana Suarez taking on Zhang Weili. This kind of feels like a moment we've been waiting for forever.
Yeah.
It's just like Tatiana Suarez obviously been through injuries, cancer survivor, still undefeated record. It feels like we've been waiting for this. Haven't seen her since August of 2023. She had to pull out of the Lemos and the Virna fight last year, but now title shot. Like, this is her moment to realize the championship status, kind of become everything that we thought we could become. Another fascinating fight. I really can't wait to see how this one plays out.
I have to admit, I feel a little bit similarly about this one as I do with the Khamzat next title opportunity that we felt, where it's like, I'm very, very confident that she's going to win this fight. I'm very confident.
Interesting.
And have been very confident that she would win once given the title opportunity. I feel that way about Khamzat. I've felt that way many times about Tatiana Suarez. And the opponent in front of her is somebody who I respect greatly and think is a great champion. Like, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but I do feel like the style that she brings is such a dominant and hard to turn away style that it almost does not matter what the opponent is. And maybe those will be words that I eat, right? Maybe she comes in there and she doesn't have the wrestling success that I think she's going to have. And Zhang Weili, who we know is a fantastic striker and just a well-rounded martial artist, is able to kind of find something that I'm not seeing. But man, when you have somebody as relentless as Tatiana Suarez and somebody I compare it to Khamzat because I think of them the same way. I've always thought of Tatiana as the champion waiting. I think of Khamzat as the champion in waiting. When you have the style that she has and the physicality that she has, I don't know what you can do at a certain point as a 115-pound fighter to stop her from doing it. She's going to just be longer, bigger, and stronger than most of the fighters she's in there against. And so, don't get me wrong, Zhang Weili is a very, very strong woman. Like, we've seen some of the things, like her lifting up, I believe it was in Ngannou, and just like, she is strong. But the level of wrestling and grappling and kind of like physical gifts that Tatiana Suarez has, I just don't know if anybody's going to be able to turn that away. The one reservation I have is the same reservation I always have about Tatiana Suarez is like, what is her health like right now. This moment, right now in time, is she healthy? How are her joints? Is she going to be at 100%? If she's at 100%, I'm very confident. If she's at anything less than that, I think it becomes a real fight. But I've long thought Tatiana Suarez is going to be the champion of this division. I'm going to assume she's healthy. I'm going to assume she's ready for this opportunity. And I predict that she will win.
Look, as big as, plus 175, plus 150 on...
Zhang deserves that respect, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, she's been bet down. She's now the favorite across the board. Got up to plus 145 on BetMGM. She is now the favorite across the board, though, to become the champion. I feel like you don't often see line movement like this with championship bouts. You see the defending champion going from favorite to dog like this. But I guess it's warranted with a fighter like Tatiana Suarez. And I think I agree with you. If she is 100%, then she stands a very good chance to win this fight. Just the aggression, the physicality, the size, the finishing capability. But I mean, Zhang is not obviously no slouch. She is the best at 155. She's putting together one of the best resumes we've seen at 115. Excuse me, I just said 155. And I'm dying to bet her. I've almost gotten to the window a couple times.
Zhang is a dog.
Yeah, especially when I see the plus money on her.
Yeah.
But then I'm just like, man, I just don't know, which is what makes championship bouts incredible.
It just comes down to me. It's going to be the first. We're going to know very soon. We're going to know early in this fight what's going to happen. The first time Tatiana Suarez shoots a double, grabs a single, has her up against the cage, either dumps her or doesn't, that's going to be a sign right there. I almost feel like I felt this way about Umar and Merab, right? Like if you go into that fight early and Umar is not having his way in the wrestling, it's going to be a bad sign. It's going to be a bad sign. Now, granted, I thought Umar still looked really good in those early rounds and was competitive in that fight. Many people had him winning. I think we had both a split. I think we both gave them each one round, but many people had him up 2-0. And so he was not out of that fight. But for long-term success, if your takedowns are not going so well, especially when you're at your strongest and your freshest, and you know that Zhang Weili has been in championship fights nearly her entire UFC run at this point, come round 5, how much are you going to have left to be able to do that? And so I think early on, we're going to know pretty quickly. If Tatiana Suarez has some trouble getting Zhang Weili down early, I don't know how well that's going to go for her. I think that's going to be a problem. If she gets her down early and makes it look the way she's looked the rest of the time, I imagine that fight could be over relatively quickly because she's just so good once she has it in that realm. But I can't. I'm trying to picture the world where she gets turned back, and I just can't. I just see her being able to pick Zhang up, put her down, and just finish it.
Okay, the way that I see her getting turned back is what you just said. She's never been in a 5-rounder. She obviously has the 10 professional fights and everything. This fight gets extended because she isn't able to get the takedowns over and over. She isn't able to submit her or anything like that. And Zhang is having success on the feet and probably wins by a decision.
What is Zhang doing to stop those takedowns? Just getting underhooks and pulling her off?
I don't know. She's got a 50% takedown defense. I mean, we saw Yan get 3 takedowns. There was a moment where the tides were turning in the Yan Jianan fight where it was just like, oh my gosh, is she about to lose the belt? Yeah, I'm just saying. If the fight gets extended, I think that's the best case scenario for Zhang.
As I said, I think we'll know this early. Like, if we see that she's able to stuff some of those takedowns and really prevent Tatiana from doing what she wants to do.
I mean, she's a vicious girl. Never been subbed either.
Zhang,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no,
so is Tatiana.
I mean,
I think it's shaping up to be a banger. I think there is finishing capabilities on both sides.
I imagine on the feet, actually, for Zhang, there's probably going to be some opportunities. I just don't know. Unless Tatiana Suarez is trying to prove something and go I can strike with Zhang Weili, I think she's going to be on those takedowns quick, and I don't know that there's a fighter at 115 that's going to be able to turn that back. I don't see it.
All right, so official prediction is
Tatiana Suarez. I think maybe a sub or a TKO on the ground.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And then Tatiana Suarez, the reign begins from there.
I see it that way. Now, here's the thing. It's one thing now she's won the belt, but now it's
how
health has to hold up. How often are we going to see her defend it? Those things.
She's 34.
We have to just wish good health upon her because, as you said, what she's overcome in her life is even that's amazing. The fact that she's even here in this position, incredible story of triumph. There was even a film made about this, incredible story. But for the UFC part of it, the actual run, there's been so many canceled fights, so many pullouts. It's just it's an unfortunate situation. It's an unfortunate circumstance. But
I mean, we have only seen her fight twice since 2019.
Yeah.
And they both happened in 2023.
It's not ideal. It is not great. And especially if you're the champion, right? The intention is for you to be able to defend that belt against the challengers. All we can hope is if she is able to be successful, if she does become the champion, good health. We see her up against the contenders for as long as she's willing to do that. And we see how long this title reign could go. But I am concerned. You know, it's
like what would we make of her career if she wins the bout here and then she maybe fights like two more times?
One of the best like what ifs for me.
Yeah.
What if Tatiana Suarez didn't ever have to deal with these injuries? What if she was just fine? And by the way, like I compared her to Khamzat, it's the same kind of story, right? What if Khamzat fought more? He probably would have been champion already.
Yeah, I mean, different reasons, obviously. I guess similar health issues.
No, well, there's
different
health,
reasons
there's
overall.
COVID.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. 14 fights for Khamzat, 10 for Tatiana.
It would be a massive what if for me. It would be a what if she was able to get this done earlier, because it's taken so long to get to this point, but she's been this good forever. You know, like she's been ready for an opportunity forever.
I don't know why well, I do know why. I mean, she's an unbelievable fighter. I think I'm going to go with Zhang. I think we'll have dueling picks here.
I totally get it.
I'm going to go with Zhang.
I used to always think that Zhang had an advantage over Rose. I was proven wrong in those scenarios, but I thought that Zhang was going to win those fights. I'm a big believer in Zhang Weili. I think this is like taking a title from a very, very good champion, but I style-wise, I just don't see how you stop Tatiana.
Yeah, I mean, Rose really cracked the code on Zhang. Other than Zhang's first fight, that's her only 2 losses in her entire carear.
I thought the MSG fight was closer than some thought.
Close.
Like I
it was incredibly close.
I might have scored it for Zhang.
It was a split decision.
Cage side.
Yeah, it was a split decision.
But I don't know.
It was Rose getting the takedowns late, I believe.
Yeah.
I got it. I mean, the head kick was obviously...
Again, getting the takedowns, that kind of worries me when it comes to the best wrestler.
Yeah, 50% takedown defense. We've seen people take her down. We've seen people take her down.
It worries me.
We'll see. We will see. It's both the main and the co-main event are very intriguing. I can't wait to watch them. We will get into the rest of the card with Denis from Submission Radio at 2 o'clock. We will head down under. We will be talking to Australia just like that. I mean, the power of the internet, the power of Zoom truly is amazing. We will get the rest of the intricacies of this card. You know, there's a decent drop off from the main and the co-main to the rest of the card.
That's respectful.
There are, in the 11 other fights, there are 8 Australians, or 8 fights with Australians in them.
Perfect.
There's 3 debuting Australians. There's a lot to get into. Alessandro Taporia is making his UFC debut. There's a lot to get into. We'll get into that with Denis from Submission Radio at the top of the hour. He will join us from down under, from Australia. But before we do that, we hopped in the Winnebago and we went down under. Only kidding. We went to Midtown Manhattan. And we actually we made our best attempt at trying Australian cuisine. We went to Isla & Co. in Midtown, owned and operated by a man from Melbourne. Melbourne. No R in there? We just silent?
Yeah.
Melbourne. He gave us a lot of the best recommendations. Didn't want to go on camera. You know, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want the bright lights on him. But gave us a lot of great recommendations. So Fight Feast, Episode 16, Australian food. Enjoy. G'day, mate. G'day, Frankie. UFC heads back down to the land down under for UFC 312. Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. So we are here, Midtown Manhattan, at Isla & Co. We're going to try our best attempt at trying some authentic Australian cuisine. Fight Feast Episode 16. Crikey, mate. Let's go. All right, we got the Cooper's Pale Ale here. Supposedly one of the most popular beers in Australia. We just had to roll it out on the table to get rid of the sediment in it. Sedimentary beer, you know, that's what they say about it in Australia. I feel like it's very Aussie to just put this whole thing down the hatch. So let's do it. Horrible chugger. I'm a terrible chugger. There's Big Frankie in the house. Cheers, Frank. Here we go. It's not a good chugger. Cooper's Pale Ale. I'll take another one of those. Thanks. All right, here we go. Chicken salt fries. If I'm not mistaken from my research, these actually have no chicken flavoring in them at all. They're just supposed to taste like chicken. Big Aussie thing, they say. Get a little aioli here. All right, taste the chicken. Wow. No chicken flavoring. Oh, man. If this is like a bar food in Australia, a pub food, I could put down a plate of these easy. AO is fantastic. Never really had anything like this. Chicken salt fries. Audio man Frank has requested a crunch. We've already lost the magnet. Here we go, chicken salt fries, nice and close. All right, Frank. Level's good? Okay, don't talk. Don't want me to talk. Little ASMR. Thanks, Frank. All right, chicken parm. What makes this different, what makes this an Australian dish, cheddar cheese instead of mozzarella on top. Supposedly this is huge in Australian pubs. It's big for college kids, middle of the week. I mean, giant chicken fillet. Too big of a bite? Too big of a bite? I say no. I mean, what's not to like? Fried chicken, covered in sauce and cheese. Point out what I'm supposed to not like about this, and I'll show you a liar. Low-key, the Australians might be onto something with the cheddar cheese. Man, that's all you had in the house?
No, he's saying...
Are you filming right now? First of all, shout out to the Sydney hat. As Australian as it gets. Thing had a new with tags, 2000, still on it. All right, kangaroo. Never had it. Is this an Australian thing to eat, or is it just this is an Australian animal and I'm eating it? The manager, he says this is Australian as it gets. Kangaroo skewers, little Joey. This could be Kangaroo Jack right here. Let's get some dip in the sauce. Let's get a little onion. Kangaroo. It's kangaroo. That's kangaroo. I mean, it tastes like pretty much any beef. Nothing crazy. It's kind of what the experience. I've had alligator. I've had, you know, elk, moose, stuff like that. It's just like gamey meat. You could tell me this is like a bison medallion, I believe it. Instead, it's Kangaroo Jack. It's a kangaroo. I'm eating kangaroo. I don't think, no matter how good this was, I would ever like make this a staple. Shout out though, kangaroo. We did it. All right, Frank. Kangaroo. What do we think, brother?
It's pretty tasty. Do you know that kangaroos have 3 vaginas?
All right, here we go. Rick trying his first marsupial.
That wasn't what I was expecting. Tough, gamey. Not for me, not my thing, but I can understand why this is eaten. It's got a good texture, but it's a little tougher than I expected. There's not like a ton of like juicy like flavor like you get with a beef or a chicken. It's a little understated. And then there is like kind of like almost like a fishy aftertaste. It's a bit of a weird kind of aftertaste. I get it if you like it, but not for me.
Rick, I normally ask him stuff and he's like, oh, 15 out of 10. And he just dropped like a Guy Fieri, Gordon Ramsay level, like Anthony Bourdain level review breakdown of the kangaroo there. That was incredible. All right, here we go. Sausage rolls, Thai spiced pork mince, wrapped in a puff pastry, red chili sauce right here. This might be the one I'm looking forward to the most. This just sounds like I'm gonna like it. Slam dunk in the sauce. Big bite here. It's like the fanciest Hot Pocket you've ever eaten. Culinary grade puff pastry. Amazing sausage in the middle. Unreal sauce. Best thing I've eaten. If they're serving these in Australia, I'm coming to fucking Australia. Just got the toast. They just informed us they don't have any Vegemite. I left mine back at the office. Like, no bullshit. I actually left mine at the office. It's heartbreaking, soul crushing. I wanted to whip it out and slam it on the table. So here's what we're gonna do. The magic of production and post, we're just gonna have me clap my hands together and then I'm gonna be at the office trying Vegemite on toast. Can we get the proper Vegemite to butter ratio? Let's find out. All right, we're back at Uncrowned HQ. We got the Vegemite. 2 beautifully buttered pieces of toast. I've heard everything. It all comes down to the butter. Freshly, oh yeah. Freshly opened. Look at that. Look at that. Oh yeah. Smells horrible. It smells like soy sauce and not good stuff. I think this is heavy. I think we went heavy on the Vegemite here. Let's see how it goes. Butter, Vegemite. Frank made the toast, not the best effort here. It's more like a giant crouton. Man, Vegemite is just not good. I think it's just an acquired taste. I mean, the toast is horrible. The Vegemite makes it even worse. Just an unpleasant experience all around. Whoa. Just got a big glob of Vegemite all at once there. No, I think it's just an acquired taste. I don't mean to offend any Australians. I think I'm just putting too much. Like, let's try just like lightly. The thinnest spreading you've ever seen of Vegemite. Just to give it like a, it's like, that's too much right there. That's enough to put me in a casket. Frank, this toast is, what did you use to toast this? I'm literally eating a giant crouton. Okay, the light Vegemite is not nearly as bad. It gives it a bit of a salty kick, a little bit of tang. Still don't love it, but that's the key. 75 butter, 25 Vegemite, maybe even 80 butter, 20 Vegemite. Better toast too. Even just basic culinary efforts, Frank miserably failed at, but Vegemite, again, not my thing. All right, here we go. Sticky date pudding, salted caramel sauce, chantilly whipped cream. Am I saying that right? Whipped chantilly cream. The manager of the place says it is an Australian favorite. We'll be the judge of that, okay? We'll see if it's an Australian favorite. All right, here we go. Let's get the caramel sauce. Let's get the chantilly whipped cream. Oh my God. This is unbelievable. I've had a lot of desserts on Fight Feast. I'm shitting you not, this might be the best one. Nothing more trying this one. This is one we're gonna have to get again. This is really, the salted caramel sauce is just unbelievable. I mean, this is just straight down the hatch. This is really one of the best desserts I've ever had. Just like that, real time, 60 seconds. It's gone. I'm done. Top 5 dessert I've ever had in my life. Final review, I was talking to the manager and I asked him, is this an authentic Australian meal? And he said, well, what would be an authentic American meal? That kind of put it into perspective. They don't really have like a strict cuisine, dishes and stuff like that. He said they're very close to Thai in Vietnam. They get a lot of influences from there. He's from Melbourne. They have a big Greek population, influences from there. So it's sort of just a bunch of dishes put together, but it was unbelievable. That sticky date pudding was insane. We got that because they ran out of Vegemite, so a blessing from the gods on that one. Rating, 8.2 out of 10. I mean, I would absolutely come back here, crush a couple Coopers, have a little roux. Would love to go to Australia and really go to a pub and get a chicken parm. That's now on the bucket list. Australian food, shout out. UFC 312, shout out. Do I bring the shoe out? Do we do the shoe in front of everyone? Do we do it? Do we do it? Let's do it. Let's a little taste of the Cooper Pale Ale out of the shoe. We might as well. It is the Australian one. No better way to drink it. Cheers, baby. Crikey, mate. That's not a knife. Crikey, mate. No. Go ahead and put another shrimp on the barbie. No. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Time to do a Tim Tam Slam. Only way to finish the meal. One corner. Other corner. Tim Tams are great, by the way. Let's see if this even goes down at all. I'm getting something. Who's good at this? This is no way to drink coffee. I'm just getting straight air. I don't know what to do with this. All right, I lost the cookie. I'm covered in flat white. This is a complete, I'm giving it one more try. I'm getting air. Here we go. Like a snorkel. I got it. I got it. This is the only way to drink coffee from now on. I don't know. Oh, the Tim Tam after the coffee's run through it though. Cheers, Mike. If you're gonna consume it, you might as well really know what it tastes like. Just a bit straight to the dome to really get the flavor. It's legit like one of the worst things that I could eat. Oh, g'day, mate. Frankie. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. G'day, mate. G'day, Frankie. G'day, Frankie. Trying some authentic Australian cuisine. Island Co, baby. You are filming? Some authentic Australian fare. UFC. The Vegemite. Where's the Vegemite?
There's no Vegemite, man.
The menu said there's Vegemite, Frank.
They're out.
God damn. Just cracked open a tinny. If I drink too much of this, I'll chunder. Chuck on some tracky dacks. That was supposed to flush backwards. That was disappointing.
Incredible.
Incredible. What fun we had at Isla & Co. Shout out. Great Australian meal there. Notice you weren't there for the Vegemite. Not there for the Vegemite tasting. You bailed out.
I didn't bail out. It's just that at the restaurant they didn't have it. I've had Vegemite before.
You have?
I have had. In fact, we have a video of me tasting Vegemite for the first time. I went to Melbourne for a UFC event. 240? I don't know what number it was. Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker.
Okay.
And I tasted it at our hotel. Myself and Tessa.
Good
Shout out Tessa.
God, look at how much is on there.
Okay, here's the important thing to note. Tessa's calling me a liar.
This is so much. This almost looks like you have cranberry sauce, but instead of the cranberry sauce, it's Vegemite. There's no way you're shrugging through that. You're just like, pretty good.
Look how much it's glistening.
15 out of 10.
Let me explain. No, not. let me explain. It had been built up to me, explained to me, told to me, this is the worst thing ever. Like, this is heinous. You can't eat this. Nobody eats this. Only Australians eat this because it's horrible. Was it bad? Like, it wasn't my favorite. But was it, like, that bad? I don't think. In fact, like, maybe I should have some right now. Let's just
came strapped with the jar.
Let's just take a.
You're going straight, no bread, no anything.
Yeah, we don't need nothing.
I mean, I did it the other day, so I'm not gonna. That's a lot. The whole thing. You're gonna clear that whole thing off? I can taste it in my own mouth.
Frank, how you liking these sticky, nasty chewy?
My mouth is actually watering because I know how unenjoyable that is. He's poker facing it right now.
Where's
he hated
your water? Why are you not drinking?
I actually said if he does this, then we have to see how long he goes without having a water.
Oh man, I can't. No, stop it, Rick. You don't have anything to prove, man. No, do not die on this hill.
Give me some more.
Do more. Do more than that.
You're double dipping as well.
Give me some more.
Right, that's his.
Don't worry. I don't think Connor's.
Oh my God! Look
I don't think Connor's going to be in on this.
That is a pile of it. No face.
Look at this. Is horrible.
Okay, we'll do another.
People are literally unsubscribing. They're so disgusted.
There's a little bit right there.
We're going to do another review.
I feel like this is offensive to Australia.
Too salty.
It is a little bit too salty. I really think we've just been dumb with it, and we think it's peanut butter. Like you thought that was peanut butter in that video.
The first.
I actually am still kind of grossed out like that. You actually just did that right there.
It's not that bad.
Oh man, your breath is gonna reek. You're gonna go home to your wife. Stop eating it, dude. Seriously, stop eating it. I thought you were gonna do it again, dude. It's. I think you just have to have a lot of butter on it with the Vegemite.
That was the mistake that I didn't realize when it was first told to me was like if you don't eat it like peanut butter, you really lightly like spread it thin like you did by the end. Now,
yeah. And it's like a little salty kick at that point.
Question for you: worse, Vegemite, Frank making toast,
dude. What was that? What happened, Frankie?
That had nothing to do with that toast, and you know damn well.
Get out of here, man.
Denying. Also, it seemed like Frank was like the one who denied the Vegemite. Did he tell them not to get it at the restaurant? Like, you look over at Frank and he's like, no.
That's actually a good question.
I called him beforehand. I was like, look, this guy.
What Australian restaurant doesn't have Vegemite?
Yeah.
Well, this one didn't.
Well, thanks to you.
Yeah.
Food, what'd you say?
8.2, yeah.
Yeah, solid.
It was good. It was a good restaurant. I mean, the sausage rolls are fire. The kangaroo. Don't know how often I'm going to have that again, but I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we tried it.
Another one where I was like, okay, I can kind of get it. Like, if you eat this, it's fine, but it just not like juicy, savory enough for what I'm looking for when I'm eating meat like that. And but again, not like ugh.
Definitely wasn't ugh. It was just like an interesting.
Yeah.
I'm always open to try different types of meat. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Like I've had the gators, the elks. I'll try whatever. Yeah. At least once. Maybe not like a hamster or anything like that.
What about a koala?
I'll try it.
Frankie with the koala, man, like 9 times this week on that joke. I don't think it's landed once.
I'll try any of those. Even a look.
You need a koala.
If a koala or a hamster were the cuisine of the nation, like
either way, I enjoyed it. We got to start going during the day. The nighttime, they start with the music, the ambiance. It hurts.
It's hard, yeah.
It hurts the production value.
I thought it was well done, especially when I'm giving my heartfelt review of the kangaroo, and it cuts to you, and you're just like,
I couldn't believe it.
It's true. I do often give very like surface level, like
15
it's great, it's bad, really high.
Yeah.
It's fishy.
I had something to say. It has a very like it is fishy. Like it has an acidic and salty aftertaste like fish. Like it was something. I don't know. Maybe I'm describing it incorrectly. I am not Guy Fieri or who was the other one? Chef Gordon Ramsay. But it was okay.
Would you describe it as umami?
No. I would not. I heard Andy also disagreeing with you, which is correct because you're incorrect. Very excited about this. We are going to be joined right now by somebody I call a friend. I've known this man for, I want to say 10 years, but maybe it's 11. He can correct me.
I am nothing but a fan.
You are, yes. I mean, the great Denis of Submission Radio is somebody I hold dearly. I think Submission Radio is a great outlet and format, and Denis is the face and the voice behind it now. Shout out to our friend Casper, who was part of that for a long, long time and is no longer. Hope he's doing well, focused on his health. But Denis from Submission Radio is joining us from Sydney on the ground, has the intel. Denis, welcome to the Boys in the Back.
Eric, Connor.
What's up, Denis? You look great, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. It's 6 a.m. here in Australia, and I feel great. It's good to be here for my debut on the program. Thank you so much. By the way, just quickly as well, I just want to shout out Casper. He goes in for shoulder surgery in a couple of weeks. I just want to send him some positive thoughts. He still does the live stuff when we do the live coverage, but he couldn't do it this time because he had his shoulder surgery coming up. So just sending out some positive thoughts for him and a speedy recovery, and then he'll be back on the next live one, which will be fun.
Love that. Shout out to our boy Casper. Truly hope surgery goes well. A few things, housekeeping off the top. Things that I have to ask you. Denis, do you know when the first time we interacted was? My recollection of this is you were reaching out in the early days of Submission Radio trying to get interviews, and I connected you with, I think the person was Renzo Gracie, but I'm not 100% sure, when I was working in my capacity as a PR guy, and that was the first time I'd ever arranged something for somebody in Australia, because I remember it being quite difficult to kind of align on the time zones. But that had to be 10, 11, 12 years ago because it was around Metamoris. But you tell me, do you remember, or do I care more about our friendship than you do?
Dude, obviously that's got to be true. I mean, we've known each other for so long. It was long before the steroids, the fast cars, and the fast women. So, yeah, it was a different Denis. It was a different Eric, and it was a special time, man. I can't believe it's been so long. I can't believe it that the time's flown so quickly. And for people that don't know, you're one of the nicest, funnest guys in the game. So it's been a real pleasure getting to have this relationship with you, brother.
I appreciate that. Another item that I need to know, I've known you for this long, and we've talked about this. Shkuratov? How do we say the last name? Pronounce this for me so I can get it correct.
Yeah, man. It's basically like a James Bond movie, when the bad guy's there and he's like, do you expect me to talk? And he's like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. And then it's like, so what is this guy's name? It's like, his name is Denis Shkuratov. His name is Denis Shkuratov, and he is going to destroy the world one bad MMA interview at a time.
No, the best MMA interviews. Also, with the accent, you're right, it does sound very menacing. It sounds like you are somebody who knows how to do some damage. Maybe with a gun?
The team used to call me Schnitzel over here in Australia because obviously Shkuratov isn't something that they're used to. And so Schnitzel was a nickname that stuck with me for a while.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so let's get into UFC 312. One of the most fascinating storylines for me is the difference between the fan sentiment around Sean Strickland, right? And you're there for the media events throughout this week. The fan sentiment for Sean Strickland when he's shown on screen, when he's at the press conference, and the immense support he has from the Australian fans, and then contrasted with how the government is kind of seeing him. We heard last time about the difficulties with the visa. In fact, I think this time we have a social media post from Dana White showcasing that the Australian newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, the cover of their sports page is UFC's biggest imbecile, and then a bunch of things that he's done to offend the Australian people, and then asking for somebody to knock this guy out. So can you help set the table? Can you explain why there's such a chasm between what the fans feel for Sean Strickland and what seemingly like the government and the officials feel for Sean Strickland?
Yeah, man, great question, dude. And that article, that's written by someone we all know on media, wrote here, a local journalist that's been here for a while. So the thing over here is it's a little bit like the UK. The newspapers here, they go with kind of like wild headlines, and it's a little bit more entertainment than it is news a lot of the time. And unfortunately, in Australia, they've been anti-MMA, anti-UFC. The cage wasn't legal for a really, really long time. People had to fight in a boxing ring because they thought the cage was literally going to be like a WWE death cage match. And there's a big sentiment here still that it's like a blood sport and it's not humane and it's like human cockfighting. So I think there is a real narrative that's created by sort of more left-leaning media source, which isn't that newspaper, because usually that's a lot more towards the right, but left-leaning news outlets just sort of trying to recreate this whole like, well, let's just ban these guys. They're ruining our country. Australia, the problem with Australia sometimes is, we just, ban people. Like Eminem was banned. Can you believe that, guys? Eminem was banned from coming to the country.
What did he do?
The guy at the time, I believe his name was John Howard, who was the prime minister, was just like, his music is terrible. He's banned from the country. He never comes in. So this has happened a lot. We had a really long lockdown here as well. It's one of those countries where sometimes things get a little wild. That headline, I know the journalist that wrote it. He's a good guy. I know that when he would have written it, maybe there was more the entertainment element of it. Like, I don't think he really thought it was going to end up like this, but yeah, man, these kinds of narratives don't really help the sport in the future. I mean, it does take one bad event, one bad situation with a Sean Strickland or something that can really set the sport back. So there are news outlets out there looking to capitalize on that, build on that. I think last time when Sean was here and he punched a fan, that didn't help. And I know now the UFC apparently has like a full-time security guard walking around with him everywhere he goes just to make sure nothing happens. But I think his name's Luke or something. But yeah, it's one of those situations, man. They're always trying to kill off the UFC here for some reason, some of these news outlets.
Okay, I have two quick follow-ups for that. Number one, what do you make of UFC Dana White like promoting that? What do you make of them like advertising basically like Australian government is feeling, or at least this writer on behalf of kind of representing like all of Australia in this regard is feeling some type of way of Sean Strickland, like supporting him as this like rebel figure? Is that an advisable move? Do you feel like it could potentially have some repercussions if something does happen and now they're leaning further into this idea of Sean Strickland versus Australia's like leadership?
Yeah, they're about to go up for an election, and it looks like we're going to go from Labor to Liberals. So that's more like the right party, and I think it's because people in Australia, much like in America, there's a lot of people that felt like they've been forgotten about, not listened to, aren't getting the opportunity to make a voice for themselves, or they feel like they're forgotten about. So when Sean Strickland comes out and says, "Hey, you guys, let me tell you something. Here's the thing, you guys, blah, 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 blah." That's why they're so supportive of it, because like, oh, he's the guy that's kind of like cutting through that kind of red tape, and he's kind of being like, freedom, free speech, this and that. So I think what's happening is Dana White and the UFC are like, oh, wow, this guy's really over right now in Australia. He's the Stone Cold Steve Austin of UFC 312. Let's jump behind it and sell a few more tickets, because this thing isn't sold out, like this show isn't sold out. And from what I understand, people are like trying to sell their tickets because they're so expensive, they expected a better card. So maybe they're trying to jump on this whole Sean Strickland sort of face run that's happening before he probably eventually loses this weekend.
Two things on that. You say Strickland is over, going against DDP. Obviously, we've seen the fan support for him. Will he be the crowd favorite? Obviously, DDP had to fight Adesanya there last time and was, massively the underdog in that one, getting booed and getting cheered against. Do you think it's going to be similar on Saturday night for him, or Sunday morning, I guess, in Australia?
Dude, I couldn't believe it. Did you guys see the press conference? It went insane. Like, I thought DDP was going to have more support than that. People went absolutely ballistic for Sean Strickland. I think it's going to be one of those situations where when he comes out, he's going to get crazy, crazy support, a lot of cheers. And then as DDP takes over the fight and potentially finishes him towards the third or fourth round, I think the fans are going to flip around and they're going to appreciate DDP for that. And then he'll get cheers towards the end of the night. So I think it's going to flip eventually. A little bit like, when Israel fought Sean as well, like as Sean was starting to dominate the fight, people were starting to cheer and stuff as well. So it's one of those things in Australia, they just appreciate a good fight, and after the fight, they'll cheer for whoever sort of puts on the good performance here.
Back to what you said about it not being sold out and some people looking to sell their tickets and everything like that. What is the general excitement in Australia for this? Because on the global stage, this thing lacks a ton of buzz.
Yeah, man. It's like, I'm trying to compare it to something. Like, it's pretty low, dude. Like, listen, I think the thing is, I think Dana White hit it on the head. I think he was doing an interview with someone like Mark Burris or something, and he said, what Australians want to see is not Australians fighting on the card, but international fighters coming down here that they don't get a chance to see regularly because it takes about 5 days to come from Australia to America, right? So it's like a lot of these guys on the card, the local guys, these are guys that fight locally all the time, so you can see them most of the time, at Eternal, Hex, a lot of these local events. So the buzz isn't very high. And the thing is, I think DDP, obviously he just fought here, so everyone's already had a chance to see him. In a more high-profile fight with Israel, that was the big fight. And then Sean Strickland already fought here against Israel as well. So I think people kind of just wanted some fresh faces so they could say they got a chance to see them,
Yeah, totally get that. But would it have been helped if there was some of the, let's say an Israel Adesanya from the Anzac, would it have been Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, it's like Volkanovski, it's missing some of the guys who are from that. Would that have helped? Or do you get the feeling that even that might not have done it and we're looking for some of the fighters that we haven't seen before?
Oh, dude, for sure. If you get a Dan Hooker, Alex Volkanovski, Israel, but even if they did that JDM Usman fight or a JDM, whatever fight, and Robert Whittaker, yeah, he's like the new Mark Hunt, where the UFC kind of relies on him to be on these cards as well. So that would have really turned it around, I think. Not that there's anything wrong with Weili and Suarez, but, I don't think people hear that across their careers and really know much about them. And then, the rest of the card, well, it's got a lot of great prospects and some exciting fighters from Australia. It just doesn't do it, I think, for, your casual Australian fans who are just looking for big names.
So you're actually saying that with putting these local Australian guys, I think there's 3 Australian dudes debuting. I think there's 8 fights beyond the main and co-main with Australians in it. So you're actually saying having these lower level guys on here isn't as exciting for the fans because they could just go see them elsewhere.
Yeah, it's one of those things where for the local guys, it's better to have guys come in overseas and give them the rub by having, them on the same stage as, whatever, as a big name like an Islam or whatever. That always helps those guys sort of grow in profile. And I think, yeah, for sure, man, have a look at the records of most of the guys on that card. Not long ago, they were just fighting just here somewhere. So it doesn't help.
Who is the face of Australian MMA right now? Is it still Volkanov? Who is the guy that is carrying the flag? Is it Rob? Was it ever not Rob? I have trouble kind of determining that. Give me a sense of if they were to bring one fighter here to headline, who is that fighter, and what is the difference between them and the next closest?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think Alex Volkanovski still holds that crown. Everybody absolutely loves that guy, and it's really cool. I saw he signed some big sponsorship deals just recently, so he's hotter than ever. So yeah, everybody absolutely loves that guy. I think he holds the mantle right now. I think Robert Whittaker, he's always someone that's dear to people's hearts as well. But I do think it's Alex Volkanovski at the moment. I'm trying to think. I think
where
JDM,
I was going to say, where does JDM fit into that? Is he the next guy up? Is he the one who could potentially carry the torch forward?
He doesn't like to do interviews. He doesn't really like to speak. He doesn't really like to get out there. I know he's coming in today. He's going to be doing interviews, but I know that the general sentiment is this is not a guy that enjoys interviews. This is not a guy that wants to really talk. He got that injury, that really bad injury and the infection, and I think that really set him back. I think if he would have been back there sooner and, gotten a couple of wins by now, that would have changed. He's one of those guys where his fighting does all the talking, and if he's not fighting, then there's no talking, So We've got the big Leon Edwards fight. I think if he goes out there and beats Leon Edwards, that changes. I think he really captures the younger demo, the TikToker MMA demo, the guys that are with the cool street style and know what's going on. I know they all love JDM. Street X, for example, is the brand he works with, and those guys are really, really cool. So I think he's positioned to be the next big thing. But yeah, he at the moment really doesn't talk or do many interviews. When he does do interviews, it's kind of like one-word answers. So I think a couple more fights will get him there.
Who should we be excited for on this card? Is it Volk's boy Thickness? Is it Scowl Kid? Who of these guys that are relative unknowns on the global scene should we be excited for coming from Australia?
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Like, there's going to be a lot of questions answered come this weekend when you think about this card. Like, for example, you got Jake Matthews on there. He got signed super young. He's been in the UFC for 11 years now. He keeps winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one. And now that he's 30 years old, I think it's one of those, kind of like shit or get off the pot moments where it's like, dude, what's happening? I love Jake Matthews, but I have this feeling like the guy just got signed when he was too young. He didn't get a chance to properly mature outside of the UFC, and he had to grow up in the UFC, and now he's in this weird situation where it's like, dude, you're 30, it's time to go, So he's got a big fight with Francisco Prado. Of course, Jimmy Crute, he took a break from the sport because he had an unhealthy obsession with it. He said that, it basically, in his mind, the type of person he was assimilated with the fact that, like, whether he was winning or losing fights. So he's gone out, he's, found his faith, and now he's coming back. And he really needs this win as well. He had a great run before he sort of started having some of those issues. You got Tom Nolan, Jonathan McCaleb, Justin Taffer, Quaylen is an interesting guy from Eternal MMA who's fighting Kev Juice from CKB. But I think the one guy for me, like you said, Connor, is Colby Thickness, man. This guy is, a champion down here in Hex. He has been trying to get as many fights as he can all over the world. People know he's been training with Alex Volkanovski now for about 11 to 13 years. And now here we go. He's fighting Tapura's brother. Ilya Tapura is going to be in the corner. Volk is going to be in the corner. And it's interesting because their styles Colby, he takes his time. He goes in there. He likes to measure out his opponents and then implement his game plan later on in the fight. And I'm guessing Alex Tapura, well, speaking to his coach this week, he says that Alex is just going to go in there and knock Colby out. I'm thinking Alex Tapura, from what I understand, is going to try and implement an Ilya Tapura type game plan, go out there and try to knock Colby out straight away. So there is definitely a potential of, either Tapura going out there and shocking everyone and, making his name known in that division. And do we have another Tapura going for a title? Or then do we see Ilya Tapura and Alex Volkanovski in the octagon together? And then does Alex go, hey, man, give me my fight. What is going on?
I would love to see Alex and Ilya in the octagon together, because that would mean at some point we're getting closer to that fight, which I don't quite understand if we are close to that fight or not close to that fight. It seems like it could have been made at this point, but Ilya keeps talking about 55. I really hope Alex does get that shot. I think it's deserved, and I think that'd be a fantastic fight. And as you said, like, Alex is still the man in Australia, so if he's able to reclaim that title, I think that's a market that they continue to come back to, would be massive for them.
But don't forget, all the guys in the back end, I will keep saying this, there's more storylines going on in the hotel than there are on the card. Like,
tell us more.
Well, dude, you got Khamzat rocking up to Sydney today.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know he was coming.
He's here, baby. He's here. We're on. So he's coming to Sydney. I think it's today, or he's definitely there tomorrow. And I asked Dana White, well, is he going to be at the show? And Dana didn't look like he even really knew about it. But yeah, there's posters out there. He's supposed to be doing seminars. He's going to be around. Is he going to cross paths with Sean Strickland at some point? Is he going to be there in the fight? Is he going to jump in the octagon if Sean Strickland wins and there's going to be a pull-apart brawl? Who knows about that? Alex Pereira is going to be in Sean Strickland's corner. DDP's been trying to fight Alex Pereira now for a while. His coach has told me that Alex Pereira is actually the guy that they won a number of times. Is DDP going to say some crap to Alex Pereira if he knocks out Sean Strickland about, hey, I'm coming for you in a couple of fights after Khamzat? What's going to happen there? That's going to be interesting too. Obviously, you got Volko floating around. You've got Charles Oliveira's floating around, and I know Ilya wants to fight Charles Oliveira. They're just hanging around at the hotel together. There's a lot going on the back end here, boys. There's a lot cooking on the back end, and I don't know what's going to happen on fight night, but I could potentially see some interesting situations happen. Very interesting situations.
You've just laid out some very interesting scenarios. I'm almost like I want the direct feed for from the hotel. I want to know what happens when Khamzat checks in and all of a sudden
give me the CCTV footage from the
Strickland's
Holiday Inn.
in the hotel as well. Okay, I wish we started there. Like what insights there from you, Denis? All right, rapid fire, real quick.
Yeah.
One. Who's going to win the main event? What's your prediction for that? I have to go with that for starters.
I just think you can't ignore the staph infection that it's seemingly Sean Strickland's gone through. That looks wild. He's going to need his cardio. And I honestly, I love Sean. I love Eric Nixick. Obviously, he's a friend. But I think for me, when I look at this fight and the adjustments that need to be made, I can see DDP overwhelming Sean, maybe getting him down and maybe trying to lock in some kind of submission later on or stunning him, getting him down and maybe capitalizing on that. I just think when it comes to the changes that need to be made with DDP, you can sort of add a couple extra shots, change a couple of things around. He maybe takes a little bit less damage towards the start of the fight. He said it was a mistake just standing there in round one. And then I could see him, potentially stunning and stopping Sean towards the end of the fight. I just see that more likely than, Sean avoiding DDP the entire fight like a scalpel, like the scalpel that he says he is, without moving backwards so the judges don't score it against him, and being able to capitalize for 5 rounds. It's just hard to do. Like, if you're on your back foot against DDP for 5 rounds, like, honestly, how do you win, fellas?
Yeah, I think we broke it down earlier. We feel pretty similarly. Okay, number 2. BKFC just announced that they're coming to Australia.
Yeah.
I want to know who you need to see on that card. And now, before you answer, this can be anybody. This can be fighters. It can also be media members, people that you're perhaps friends with, people that you know that have fought for BKFC before. But no pressure. It can be anybody in the world. But also, it can be media members. It can be people that you're friends with, people that have fought for BKFC before that you might be aware of that you'd like to see compete again. Who do you want to see on the Australia card for BKFC?
Well, listen, there's a guy called Oscar Willis that I don't know if you guys...
Oscar, that's a good one.
And... as soon as I saw this card was done, I started in the back sort of trying to get him to sign on to this. So who knows? I'm campaigning right now for you fellas. I'm lobbying for you fellas. I'm doing the best I can for you fellas. So let's see what I can do throughout the week. But wouldn't it be great to see him fly down under? I think that would be fantastic. The other guy outside of Oscar is obviously Mark Hunt. It's time for him to... I know that he's wanted to fight for BKFC for a while. I think it makes sense to have him down here and fighting in Perth. I think Perth is where it's going to be. So I think he would be great as well. It makes sense. Obviously, you got Beck. She's Aussie too. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows who else they can throw in there, man? Yeah. You get John Wayne Hardapot to jump in there, bare knuckle. Who knows?
That's tasty. Mark Hunt, natural fit with Ben Rothwell. If they can re-sign him, that'd be a great fight. I love that answer. Okay, last thing.
Yeah, he told me, Mark Hunt, that he wants to do it. So let's see what happens.
Last thing. What are we doing wrong with the Vegemite? How do we, as a nation, enjoy this? Like, what is our shortcoming? Because I feel like it's on our side. We've all given it a crack. We can't get there. What is the problem? What do we need to do differently?
Look, it's like that Chael Sonnen promo when he was calling out Anderson Silva. Vegemite, you absolutely suck.
I love it.
Listen, I can't do Vegemite, man. If I have too much, I'll have a stroke. I don't know. Are you still alive, man? Did you have an aneurysm? I can't do it. I look at it. I think it's Nutella. I keep eating it in big spoonfuls and ending up in the hospital. They do Marmite in New Zealand. They do Vegemite in Australia, and I put it all in the bin in my house in Point Cook. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, so
someone's buying it. Right. Yeah. Someone's buying it and eating it. I don't know who it is, but someone's doing it.
A lot of sickos out there, Connor. A lot of sickos.
Denis, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks for getting up early. I know it's not easy.
I've told you this personally, Denis, many times. I think you're great at what you do. I think you're one of the best interviewers in the sport. If you haven't already, check out their YouTube channel, Submission Radio AU,
one of the best
I think
names.
It is. Is
one
that
of the, best
the right
names
URL?
In sports.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I'm doing a thing that no one's watching at the moment called MMA Guess Who. So we've got a few episodes that are dropping during fight week here. If you guys like Guess Who, watch me lose over and over and over until I eventually jump off a cliff and probably, you guys won't see me again. But until that happens, check that out on the Submission Radio YouTube channel.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks so much,
Denis.
brother. Enjoy the fights.
You guys are killing it. Thank you so much.
Peace, brother. Well, a little intel there. Khamzat Chimaev going to be at the hotel or something like that. We might really get some scenes. Imagine
forget
if he
the hotel.
hops
Hops in the cage.
Imagine if he hops
after
in the
fight.
Now we're talking.
Oh, man, I'm about to start sweating. This is all I wanted.
Now it's shaping up.
This is
now
all
it's
I
shaping
wanted.
up a little bit.
Oh boy.
You don't like Taliesin Teixeira versus Justin Tafa? Don't worry. We're getting Khamzat Chimaev in the cage.
I also don't mind the idea of we're going to have Ilya and Volk in the same spot. Let's please just like talk about how we can get toward this fight. Like it just seems like every day we're getting like it's on, but it's maybe not on. And Ilya's talking about a new weight class. Like even Denis talked about like he's been calling out Charles Oliveira. Please, let's just like get a date for this. I know Ariel on the show yesterday was talking about it make a lot of sense to be in Miami. Let's just get it on the books. It's time. Like Ilya, Volk, rematch. We'll move on from there. But them being in the same arena and
very
respectful
of each other. I know that they're going to be cordial, and yeah, I think we're going to get some discussion. I think we're at least going to get a picture. I think we'll
get a face-off or something.
Can you imagine if they face off? It feels like they would be stealing the moment from whoever wins the fight.
No, what do you mean? No. I'm sorry, not in the cage.
Okay.
Like a social media. like no.
Good in thickness.
He wins, and then it's just like
and
all
then
right,
it just
now
goes to the face off of them too.
No.
Yeah, so like we've talked about like the card isn't like the deepest card in the world, but I do think some of the fights will be exciting. Like I believe it's 7 of the 13 fights the odds are for it to not go to a decision. So I think we could get exciting. Lower level, like early on in their career, guys might go for it more. The main card, like when it comes to a name standpoint, is not great. The other three, but like Taliesin Teixeira, all of his fights have ended in round 1, going up against the heavyweight. It's going to be a wild size differential in there.
Yeah.
The Jimmy Crute fight, obviously his fights are always chaotic. I think it's like 8 of his 9 in the UFC have not gone to a decision. Same thing with Bellato, like 13 of his 14. So I think there could be some excitement on the rest of the main card leading into the 2 championship bouts.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think what naturally kind of happens, it was fascinating to hear Denis kind of talk about like, yeah, these are guys that you've probably seen on like the local scene.
I never thought about that.
Fights ago.
I was like, oh, this is like cool that they got McAuliffe and Sal killed on here. Like this will be nice for the Australian fans. And it's actually like, no, we've seen them fight in Hex Fight League.
Here's where it's not good. It's not good because if you're the more casual fan, you're not going, man, I really need to buy a ticket to see that guy because you just paid $15 instead of $500 and you just saw that guy.
Yes.
Here's where it is good though. If you're a more hardcore fan or you're somebody who's a fan of theirs directly, now you're in the building, and if they start racking up some KO after KO after KO, sub, finish, whatever, the energy starts to build. We've seen this before. I believe Canada. It was the last Dricus and Strickland fight. Was that not the headliner in Toronto?
That Canada went crazy? It was that or it was 289?
One of them.
Yeah,
there was one where it was not a deep card and people were like, this card sucks. But the Canadian fighters started to like rack up some victories and there were finishes and finishes and finishes. And all of a sudden it kind of crescendos. I could see something similar happening here.
It was 289. Okay. Hobby and Nelson and Jasdovicius and Malott and like everyone ended up won. MAB won. I think 297 was actually like a
bad night for Canada.
It was the disaster one. I think that's when Malott got his first loss against Magny. Yep. Yeah. MAB lost. Yeah. Bracketona lost. Charles Jourdain
We'll forget about that one. We'll forget about that one.
They're actually rerunning that in the gym this morning. I was in there and I was like, from across the gym, I was like, is that Marc-Andre Barriel, Chris Curtis? It's like, why is this on right now? It's like 6:15 in the morning. Great shout, though. Great shout.
Oh, maybe because it's the first fight. So
I think they replayed the entire card on ESPN News.
I think there can be some momentum there. Plus, I think if the Australian fighter starts to roll,
the Australian fans, you automatically have someone to cheer for. If you're just there casually, like, let's go to the UFC pay-per-view tonight, and then you go, and then it's just like, oh, this guy's Australian. I know who I'm cheering for. Like, you're always going to get the pop, especially if they come out draped in the flag and everything.
100%. Now, having said all that, the most interesting storylines are the two main event and co-main event fights, and then sounds like what could happen at the hotel. Sounds like what could happen backstage,
and then Alexandre Topuria versus Thickness is interesting just because you're going to get the two guys in the corner. He's saying that Thickness is the most exciting prospect from Australia on the card. And then Topuria obviously is like, do we have the next Topuria? Is there another one? Well, we already have the next Topuria, obviously, because it's his brother. But is he as good as Ilya? Can he even hold a flame to Ilya? We shall see. It's a pay-per-view card. Sort of.
Doesn't look like other ones.
We got 2 championship bouts on
we got
Saturday
2 great
night.
fights.
Can't wait for it. UFC 312. I feel like that's the Aussie thing to do.
To say the numbers out,
Yeah. I've been trying to get better about that. I've been trying to pick up on that more. UFC 312 on Saturday. We'll be watching it right here. You can watch us for the watch party Saturday. We'll go live at 9:45 p.m. right here on this very channel, in this very studio, in more comfortable chairs, and we'll watch it. We will watch what happens on the main card. One other bit of fight news, of combat news to get into before we dive into picks. The Ring had learned that Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez was on, and it was going to happen at Allegiant Stadium.
I think we need to bring up the tweets because we need to follow the saga in real time.
February 3rd at 9:33 a.m., Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford now has an agreement in place for a September mega fight on a Riyadh season card in Las Vegas. The Ring has learned.
Wow. Big, huge news.
Huge. Then we go to the next one. Not only have they learned it's happening, it's also happening at Allegiant Stadium. This is still on February 3rd. About 12 hours after that, it's like, wow, Canelo Crawford, Riyadh season, Allegiant Stadium, September. And then we get the news last night at around 10:27, the planned Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford fight is now off. The Ring has also learned.
Yeah, just quite a roller coaster there where it's like we're getting one of the fights that everybody's been clamoring for. It's going to be in a big stadium. There's been infinite pieces of content brought out about it. We on this show have covered it many times, talking about it, what a big fight it could be. And then we learned today that it's off. I didn't see much.
Whoa. And then I'm seeing right now via Happy Punch, via Ring Magazine, Eddie Hearn said he was told Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul is a quote-unquote done deal.
Oh, so I had a sneaky suspicion.
Well, like I literally just opened Twitter and that was the first thing that came up. I love
it. We're doing it live. I had a sneaky suspicion that this was related to the rumors of Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez. Because, and Ariel has made this point, like, what happens if Jake Paul beats Canelo, right? Do you have a problem on your hands where now you're putting Canelo in a fight with Terence Crawford when he's a diminished product? So I think
you can't do the Crawford fight if he loses Jake
I think it's safer for the parties involved at Riyadh season to say, like,
it's off.
We're off. We're not on. But then we
just happen to have Allegiant Stadium booked for September 13th.
Should Canelo clear Jake Paul?
Should Canelo Alvarez get past Jake Paul?
And we know that's daunting, and we know that that's a tough task. Should he get past him, then I think we will probably be back on. That's my guess. I have no inside knowledge here. I'm not Ariel. I do not have the reporting
correct. Here. We are amateurs, and we are not journalists.
I'm speculating fully.
We are yappers, yapping. We are actually producers just yapping out here in the front. But Eddie Hearn, it says, as I'm hearing, Canelo versus Paul is done.
Okay, so now we have to react to that.
That's what he told the Ring Magazine. So that your theory, that makes me feel like it's correct, that they are now saying that Canelo is off because of the Jake Paul fight. So you don't want to say, like, yeah, he's just going to do a pit stop and fight Jake Paul, and then he's going to go fight Crawford in September.
Yeah, it diminishes both fights, in my opinion, to a certain degree, right? Because if you know that Canelo has a date with another pound-for-pound top boxer, it kind of makes the Jake Paul aspect feel like a bit of a spectacle, a bit of a sideshow. Let's be real, it kind of is. And then if you're the Canelo and Crawford side of that equation, what happens in the Jake Paul fight is going to be consequential regardless of whether Canelo's victorious or not. Again, I think he will be victorious. I've gone on record. I said it Monday, Tuesday, one of those days. There's not a chance in hell that Jake Paul is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. 0, none, zip, less than 0. Whatever that number is, negative numbers, go back as far as you can possibly go. There's not a chance in hell. If he's motivated, he will take Jake Paul out in one round. But Canelo gets injured. Canelo slips on a banana peel. The fight gets canceled, and then they have to move Jake Paul to later in the year. All of a sudden, those plans get a little bit murky. And so I think the safer option and the right option is to kind of shelve this one for now and then wait until we have an understanding of what happens with Jake Paul. If that is, again, we're now relying on what Eddie Hearn has said when he is not, the one who is announcing this fight, right? I imagine we'd hear from MVP or Canelo when this fight is going to be officially announced. But Jake Paul versus Canelo is kind of crazy. It's kind of a crazy fight. Like,
what do you mean it's kind of crazy? It's crazy that this dude has essentially spoken into existence him fighting Canelo Alvarez. And Canelo is going to win the fight. If it happens, Canelo is going to win the fight. I'm just going to say that point.
Are you sure?
He's going to win the fight.
Are you giving
I'm just saying
100%? I give 100%.
I say 100% chance.
Okay.
But like, say on the extra 1%, like just like
extra. There's the 101, the 101%.
I mean, it would be the craziest thing I've ever seen. Would it be the biggest upset in sports? Is that bigger than Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson?
Yes, 100.
Has to be
100%.
I don't care what the odds say. That would be one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
It's way bigger. It's way bigger.
That would be one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it's an impossibility at this point. There is not a reality. I cannot fathom a reality. You know how like in the Avengers, was it Endgame? I think it was Endgame, where Doctor Strange is doing like all the possible realities, and then he finds the one where they're able to defeat Thanos, and Tony Stark gets the glove. There is not a reality. There is none. There's none out there. I've explored them. I've seen every possible universe, every possible timeline. Jake Paul will never beat Canelo Alvarez. If that were to come true, the fabric of reality would unravel. There would be nothing left for us because we would disintegrate as the rest of the universe does. There's no chance. None. Zero. Canelo could limp in there on his worst day and he's going to beat Jake Paul. I can't fathom it. It's just not possible.
You are cutting a promo right now. As in, they're going to use you for the most valuable promotion.
That's fine.
Promo for the fight. And it's going to be like Jake Paul hitting pads to you saying this, and then like you in black and white, like looking devilish.
Like the UFC did to me?
They're going to have some filter on you that makes you look angrier and sound angrier. He will never beat Canelo Alvarez.
They're going to use that. They're going to cut that part of you saying that out and put that in there.
Canelo minus 1,500 value?
Yeah, value at minus 15,000. There's not a number you could tell me that there's not value.
Yeah, and I actually think it's going to get a ton of eyes because a lot of people want to see Jake Paul lose.
Oh, absolutely. Jake Paul, I think people have a very hard time. I do not. People have a hard time separating like what Jake Paul is doing in terms of the trajectory of his path in boxing and what he's able to do as a boxing draw and a pay-per-view headliner from like the actual skill set. Like if we're doing a real honest assessment of this, Jake Paul is a pretty capable boxer for just how long he's been in the sport, which is not very long at all. Like he is clearly somebody that puts in the time and has developed enough skills to the point that at somebody at his stage in the career, like he's doing pretty decently as a boxer. He's fighting guys. Now, granted, he's not facing the toughest competition, but nobody in boxing at the record that he has is truly facing the toughest competition. I'm leaving the Mike Tyson thing aside. That was a bit of a farce. It wasn't really a fight. Let's separate that. But then there's the entertainment element. Then there's the like promoter element. Then there's the spectacle, the guy who is delivering big events. There is nobody right now doing it bigger and better than Jake Paul. He just had the biggest sporting event on Netflix that you could possibly have to the point that they're salivating for the next opportunity to do this. I don't know where this fight will ultimately land. It would make a lot of sense for Netflix to be like, yeah, let's do another big, huge, massive Jake Paul fight. Again, I don't know where it'll ultimately end up. I wouldn't be surprised if it's there or somewhere else that is willing to pay a pretty penny for it. But nobody is doing this in quite the same way that Jake Paul is. He has an ability to create these fights.
Dude, he went from Nate Robinson and Ben Askren in little arenas on Triller to Mike Tyson on Netflix. And now it's, according to Eddie Hearn, against Canelo, a pound-for-pound great of this generation.
Top 4 at worst, pound for pound, in terms of all-time great status, even ahead of some of those other guys that are ahead of him on the pound-for-pound list right now. Somebody who is a name that if the most hardcore boxing fan hears, they know exactly what that means, or if the most casual boxing fan hears, they knows exactly what that means. Canelo Alvarez is a household name, is a global superstar product, and Jake Paul is organizing a fight for him. So
it's crazy, and nothing's off the table at this point. Oh, no. Yeah, we'll fight Mike Tyson at Cowboy Stadium. Yeah, we'll fight Canelo at Allegiant or wherever this is going to take place at. There's nothing off the table for him at this point.
After he was able to make a fight with Mike Tyson happen, there's not a name you could tell me that I'd be like shocked anymore. The fact that he had a fight with Mike Tyson on pay-per-view, on Netflix, to me, like the ceiling has come off what the possibilities are. I don't think this Canelo fight will has as much global appeal as Mike Tyson, just because of so many different age groups having an affinity for Mike Tyson, so many people knowing him but enough people know Canelo Alvarez that this will be and we asked this of each other, and Ariel asked this. Clearly, the bigger fight is Jake Paul versus Canelo when compared to Terence Crawford versus Canelo. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So Right now, we're looking at one of the biggest fights that Canelo could take, in my opinion, the biggest fight that Canelo could take, because the other alternative is like another pound-for-pound great, or a David Benavidez, who everybody thinks is the guy that could potentially dethrone Canelo. It seems like they're on different paths right now, but there's nothing bigger than a Jake Paul fight at this moment in time.
In terms of eyeballs and money and everything with it, yeah, I agree with you.
And so this is it's like simultaneously an expected kind of scenario and also still a crazy scenario to think that now Jake Paul is getting in there. Now, there will be the calls that, again, he's fighting a smaller man, right? Jake Paul is not a small boy, and Canelo is going to be outsized in this fight. Again, I'm on record. I don't think that matters. I don't think the years of experience that Canelo has had, the years he spent sharpening and honing his tools, you cannot make that up in a short amount of time. You cannot do that. You cannot fast track that. You can fast track the spectacle. You can fast track how big the events are in a way that Jake Paul has. What you can't fast track is the skill set that Canelo has developed over the years of being a pound for pound great. And so I ultimately think that will be the difference in the fight. But from a entertainment perspective, this is what I want Jake Paul to be doing. This is what I have craved for Jake Paul to be doing, and now he just continues to elevate it.
Let me see if I can get any odds on it right now. I mean, there's been enough talk about it. Some of these books might start listing them. Frank, what do you make of it? We're over here saying 100% chance of Canelo Alvarez beating Jake Paul. That's your boy. You can't stand up for him at all?
I just have a giant smile on my face because when you guys are proven wrong, I'll be cashing that ticket and bringing up all these receipts.
All right, I do have odds. I have odds.
Oh, boy, tell me.
Yeah, let's hear the odds.
Canelo Alvarez.
Drum roll.
Minus 4,000.
Jesus.
That's still a value.
Jake Paul plus 1,400.
I'm trying to just figure out if I sell my car,
if you sell the house,
another mortgage.
Listen, honey, we're gonna do 3 nights in a hotel. We'll sell the house, everything up, minus 4,000. Canelo. It's just you with the John Hamm meme smoking a cigarette. Canelo minus 4,000. This is how we reside.
It's an impossibility. It is truly an impossibility.
How about retirement plan to retirement plan? The Jake Paul minus 200 against Mike Tyson, straight into the Canelo minus 4,000.
We blew. We blew the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
To pull the curtain back, we put an obscene amount of money on Jake Paul, and we're regretful we did not put more.
Jake. This is the brilliance of Jake Paul, and this was the brilliance of Money Mayweather and many before. It's not like it started with Mayweather. I just think Mayweather was the best at capitalizing on it. There are people like me who are like, Jake Paul cannot win. There is no way he can win. And that's a win for Jake Paul because you want those people. You want the people that are the detractors, that the ones that go, there's no chance in hell, there's no chance in hell, there's no chance in hell. And then you want the other side who's all behind him. If you only had fans or you only had detractors, your audience would be half the size if you can capitalize on both of them. And that's what Jake Paul has been able to do brilliantly because the ones like me are beating the drum and talking about it and giving it more attention and giving it airtime. And now that's elevating the fight. And then the people that support Jake Paul, like Frank blindly, who believes that he's going to win, but even though he knows he's not, that is also elevating and putting wind into the sail of Jake Paul and putting wind into the fight. Like, again, entertainment perspective, there's nobody quite doing it like him at this moment. I'm not going to claim that like he's a bigger combat sports star than like a McGregor, but McGregor is not fighting. Like in reality, McGregor hasn't fought in a long time and has been sidelined. In the fight space right now, he is the biggest name. He is the biggest draw. He is the biggest appeal. He is doing things that nobody else can do.
And what a year Canelo Alvarez could have if he ends up fighting Jake Paul and then goes and fights Terence Crawford after
Massive payday for
payday. As good as it gets. We also have some additional breaking news.
Oh, folks. What do we got? Can we hit the news one? Yes.
Jon Jones has taken to Twitter, and we thought this was going to be pull it over our eyes. He's made the announcement. In 24 hours, I will be making a huge announcement. He tweeted at 3:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday. We have received that tweet. While this may not be a traditional fight for me, it's obvious that too many Americans are being hurt and forced into medical debt or bankruptcy by a healthcare system so greedy that hospitals and insurers hide their actual prices so they can charge us whatever they want. Their estimates are bullshit, and the corporate greed in American healthcare is breaking people and families across the United States. I've seen it countless times in my own community where I have friends, family, and neighbors who are afraid to even get the care they need because the entire system, without real prices up front, is dishonest and rigged for corporate profit. Time to hold these healthcare bullies accountable. Power to the people, power to the patients. At Power to the Patients. And he included a video mock press conference as if he was signing with Power to the Patients.
I'm just seeing our Slack messages here because I don't know what Power to the Patients is. It seems like, Jordan, can you speak to this? Have you looked into the materials?
Prices are now a patient's right. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
I mean, I'm quickly looking into it. I have texted with a friend of mine who's an emergency room doctor.
Okay.
Who hadn't heard of it, but just from a quick look at their website, they seem to want to make hospital pricing and insurers more upfront and try to take the cost down, which on the surface obviously seems well and good.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were literally just talking all week how there's just so much bad news coming out of MMA. If this is the case and that's really their true mission, which I really hope it is, it's actually some good news. You know, Jon Jones using his voice and some of these other people for some good. So I haven't done enough research to know 100% about it, but that is my surface level knowledge.
I appreciate that. This is not an endorsement of Power to the Patients because we don't actually know.
I have no idea what Power to the Patients does. And if it does what you said, then that is great. It is just like, it's clearly just tactical marketing.
Yeah, and also it's a bit of, what we saw with the Paul brothers, right? It's like, release a poster that seems like it's going to be a fight, and then...
But no one bought this. Johnny Bones, this is from Power to the Patient's Twitter, is stepping into the ring for his most important fight yet. The fight for real prices and transparency in healthcare. Fox News article. My next opponent will be the American healthcare system.
Oh, wow.
This is just like, I mean, we knew this is what it was going to be. Something along these lines. A sponsorship opportunity.
We knew it would not be a fight, right? That's the one thing we did know. We knew that Jon Jones was not going on Twitter to announce like his fight.
Yeah, this is a fight.
Let's also be clear. This is just a sponsorship. It's a partnership. Like it's a money making opportunity for Jones as well.
Now to Jordan's point, like, I mean, it's kind of a topical issue, right? We've seen the United Healthcare in the news.
I would imagine it's better than him partnering with like Monster Energy, but like also I don't know much about that.
Yeah, we need to see more as Connor laid out, like kind of an expected route, right? We thought this might be some kind of partnership opportunity, and that's what it ended up being. Don't know enough about it. Hopefully we can get more clarity on it and Jon can speak on it. But maybe they can do some good. Who knows? Jon is using his platform, so we'll see.
Yeah. I feel like it's just like the fact that it just immediately followed the Paul brothers doing it. Everyone was
doing hey, got some big news.
Also, he was never going to be like, I have an announcement in 24 hours, and this is what I'm going to announce the Tom Aspinall fight. I had many friends who are like not deep into the MMA space hit me up, and they were like, "Is this the Aspinall fight?" And I'm like, No.
Okay, but
we will get the Aspinall fight from a vertical video held by one Dana White in his.
What's up, guys?
What's up, everybody?
The funny part about that is earlier you said, and I was thinking this as you said it, you're like, we all knew what this was going to be. And I was thinking to myself, did the casuals actually know? Because it sounds like they didn't.
I actually got like 3 or 4 Instagram DMs from like my boys from college or just like friends around the city. And they're just like, is this the Tommy fight?
Yeah.
I'm just like, no. I really was hoping for a meme coin though. I really was.
I was hoping. Not. I'm glad to see this instead of a meme coin.
I was hoping to put some money in $meat. Johnny Meat opens up $.
You're loving the meat, the Johnny Meat.
Shout out. I need a shirt that says Johnny Meat. Crazy work. Shout out to Jon Jones. Shout out to Jake
Wild
Paul.
stuff.
Shout out to Canelo Alvarez. A lot
Jake
of news.
Paul and Canelo per Eddie Hearn. Done deal.
Hey, power to the patience, man. Power to the patience. All right, let's get into some picks. Parlay pals.
Yes.
We've got Pizzi returning after a tough week. Completely ruined the parlay. We had a winner turned into a loser because of one Pizzi Carroll. Can he redeem himself this week? I have already got his pick, and that pick. Kevin just said from France.
I like it.
I like it too. Let me throw in the randomizer. Frank, you first. I will go second. Rick will bring up the old rear.
Perfect.
That's great, man. I'm going to take the main event to go over 2.5.
Okay. All right. So you think it goes long? You listen to us bullshit on like me being like, something in my gut says there'll be a finish. And you're like, fuck your gut. Over 2.5.
I have the image of Sean.
It's just going to be a late finish.
Yeah. Strickland, doing the thing from The Simpsons.
Sean Strickland. I think you mean Sean Strickland.
Strickland. My apologies.
If you weren't listening to the Ariel Helwani show yesterday, someone sent in a super chat and said that I continuously call Sean Strickland Sean Strickland, which I don't think is true, but I haven't gone back and looked to see if it is true. All right, minus 425 on that one. I will go heavyweights. I'm going to go Justin Tafa, Talison Teixeira, under 2.5, minus 500. Talison, all of his fights ended in the very first round. Giant size differential between him and Tafa, but dude gets hit. And if he's not the one landing, I think he's going to get hit by Tafa, and I think someone's going to get put out.
Love it. I'm going to take Ilia Topuria.
Alexandre Topuria.
Sorry. Wait. No, Ilia Topuria, though.
Ilia Topuria against so he would actually be down a weight class against Thickness. He would be what, like a minus 5,000?
I'm going to take Alexandre Topuria.
Minus 380. That brings us to plus 159. That's a nice get back in the win column. I like it. Get back up 5 units. We need to see one go through the hoop. We were like 4-2 at one point. We're 4-6 now. Is that a 4? That's a 4 parlay losing streak. Time to get back in the win column. Producer Jordan, no graphics on that one, eh? No! Just when I started doubting him.
Don't doubt him.
He pulls me back in. All right, let's rip through my bets. First up, not taking a ton of money lines this week, taking a lot of props over unders. Jubilee Salkilled, I would take the under 2.5 in this one. I was on Breeden against Jubilee last time. I think Jubilee's got a little bit of quit in him. And I think Salkid's got finishing capabilities. Salkid, all but 2 of his professional fights have not gone the distance. Massive favorite in this one in front of the home crowd. I think he gets Jubilee to quit again as well. Next up, Crute, Bellato, under 2.5. Very much like this one. Hopefully, I didn't just curse it. Crute, 8 of 9 in the UFC have not gone to a decision. Contender Series didn't go to a decision. I think it's 8 of those ended in the first round. 7 or 8 of those ended in the first round. Bellato, 12 of his 13 of his 14 professional fights have ended in round 1 or 2. Next up, Tafa, Talison Teixeira, under 1.5 in this one. I just mentioned it. Talison, all of his fights have ended in the first round. He's going to be 7 inches taller with 9 inches of reach on Justin Tafa, but he still gets hit. Tafa's need to get it up against the cage, just start throwing giant bombs, get the finish. And if he doesn't do that, I think he's probably going to get finished by Talison Teixeira. So the under 1.5 in that one. And then to the main event, Dricus du Plessis inside the distance. 20 of his 22 professional wins are coming by way of finish, and you're getting a minus 200 turned into a plus 215. It's just odds that I can't ignore at this point. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, I think the fact that they've spent 25 minutes together, I think something's going to be different this fight. I think the chaotic nature of Dricus du Plessis will turn up in this fight, and I think he wins, via finish. A few parlays for you. Your boy, not your boy, Pizzi's boy, Kevin Giussette, and Gabriel Santos. I like both of them to win as favorites. Next up, a little under parlay. I actually don't know which one is coming next. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, there we go. Nope. Now your boy, Alexandre Topuria and Tafa Talison, under 2.5. Similar to we're gonna test if Talison Teixeira is the heavyweight Terence McKinney. Only 7 fights, all ending in round 1. We'll see if he can keep that up. This is the test by taking the under 1.5 single, parlaying up the under 2.5, and then we'll finish it off with an unders parlay. Borshev Nolan under 2.5. Topuria Thickness under 2.5. I like violence this weekend. I think it's not a great name by a card. I'm that guy right now, but I think there are going to be some good finishes. I think it's going to be exciting. UFC 312. Those are the bets. All right.
Love it. Wow, we have covered so much already.
In just 2 short hours, and we still have the best part of the show to go, watching me continuously flip up my XXL Socceroos jersey. But
in all super chats, make sure you get those in.
Thank you,
Get in
Frank.
the super
Good
chat.
Reminder.
And just hop in the chat and talk to us. You know, we appreciate all of you watching. The best part of the show, the last part of the show, the pound for pound rankings. We struggled with this one this week. Do we do scariest Australian animals? Frank at one point
the dingo
said we should rank continents.
That was our best idea.
There was another one, Sydney's. Being in Sydney, Australia. Do we rank the Sydneys? Sydney Sweeney.
Is she number one?
Sydney
right
Crosby. There's plenty of ones
Sydney, Australia.
out there. We had a hard time, but we took some inspiration from one Sean Strickland, a man who inspires many. And he this week shaved his head and his beard. All he is left with the mustache. He said he was going for more of a John L. Sullivan with the mustache, but looks more like a potato head. He said, fuck it, lol. I respect
You should be clear for audio listeners. You're reading that from a tweet from Sean
That is Sean Strickland's
You are not
own word.
suggesting he's a potato head.
Do we have the picture of Sean Strickland with the mustache?
Let's do the Khamzat. Let's do the Khamzat tweet.
Yeah, do we have the Khamzat? Something like that. I have to say, all respect in the world to Sean Strickland. The bald, like the very, very close shaved head with the stash is a tough look, man. It's hard to pull off. I guess he is because he's.
Do you feel like he's pulling it off or what?
Beat my ass? I don't know. It's tough to pull off. You guys were talking about, we should shave down the mustaches.
More hair on his eyebrows than he does on his lip.
Yeah, he was like.
It's a good point by Frank. It's not like a super full mustache, you know.
And mine isn't either. So if I went down to a stash, it'd be. I love the stash, but you kind of need some hair up top to properly rock the stash. So we took that inspiration of the mustache, and we are going to rank pound for pound best mustaches in history. And this one, I have to say, was the most difficult one yet. There have been so many great mustaches throughout the history of the world.
Yeah, it's true.
And to not narrow it down to 5 is no easy task.
I agree with you. There were so many good options. It's usually like, there's a few that I would have done this, that, the other. I could have had a completely different list and felt good about it.
I have like 18 honorable mentions.
Same.
Frank, what order will we be going in today?
It may be a surprise, but I'm going to start us off.
All right, you kick us off, man. I'm really interested.
Then we're going to Connor.
You got great potential to knock this one out of the park, Frank.
Yeah, well, we'll see. So coming in at number 5 is Jesse Ventura.
Wow.
Specifically, Jesse Ventura as Captain Freedom from the movie The Running Man. Just
Did
look
you
at
take this off of your own TV?
That's what Jordan said too. No, the shot in the movie is of a screen, like a CRT,
right.
where they're showing this like workout video promo that he's cutting. Just look at that mustache.
I can't really see it because it's so low quality.
It's so high quality mustache, is what you're saying.
All right, nice.
Coming in at number 4, Mr. Diabetes himself, Wilford Brimley.
Respect.
Which I have to say,
stashes, Frank.
He's got the is it the
mongoose?
That's
the walrus.
The walrus. The mongoose.
The walrus with the specs, the hat, and the colorful button down is what we like to call DRIP. A little bit of drip there.
Frank,
looks fantastic.
Frank, it's not diabetes, it's diabetes.
I actually know him more. Like I couldn't remember his name, as Jordan will point this out. I had to search him up for who was the guy in Cocoon.
Cocoon, yeah, of course.
That's where I know him from.
Quaker Oats.
Is he the Quaker Oats guy?
Commercials.
Oh, okay. He's not the guy like on the actual.
No,
can.
that guy
doesn't.
No, that
for a second you almost rocked my world.
That would be Mr. Quaker Oats.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mr. Oats himself.
Captain Quaker.
Coming in at number 3.
Hold on. Frank is lucky that I'm a nice guy because he texted me Walter Brimley, and I'm like, hey.
Who is that?
I just made that up.
Brimley?
Walter Brimley is
Can
not
I
a
look?
man.
When you search up Walter Brimley,
who
Wilford Brimley comes up. So
Did you mean Wilford Brimley?
It's like, you idiot. There is no Walter Brimley.
Even the AI was like, are you okay there?
There is no Walter Brimley.
All right. We're starting out all right.
I gotta say,
Number...
Frank, let me just interject.
Yeah, we're just...
You were on a heater for a while. You were cooking for a long time. These last few, then you really like careened off a cliff. We'll go like around 311 time where you completely missed the assignment.
I'd say it's all 2025. I'd say it's all 2025.
You are killing right now. You are smashing right now. This is incredible.
You put things up on a pedestal so high that all they're going to do is shatter
all right,
when they fall.
Keep going.
Number 3, John Waters. I'm actually not a huge fan of John Waters. I'm not even a huge fan of his mustache.
Ooh, a little eccentric.
But this guy has like owned it. Like,
yeah.
Do you know you shave every morning so you don't have the 5 o'clock shadow thing going on? Like, I think this guy had to like trim every hour. Like, he's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I gotta
almost feels like he had to get laser hair removal or something.
I mean, he's been doing it for so long. Like, there wasn't even lasers back when he started doing.
You're admiring the dedication to the maintenance of the mustache, which I greatly appreciate.
Because in my opinion, when you have a pound for pound mustache, it's not necessarily like, well, who grew it the best.
Yeah,
it's like, who is committed to the bit.
You got to have one in there. You got to have one in there. I'm with you.
And no other person was as committed to the bit as my number 2, Dr. Robotnik, made even more popular by Jim Carrey.
Sonic.
For those of you who haven't seen the newer Sonic movies, like they play on the mustache a lot. Like it's a fan favorite, but like they really go home with like how great the mustache is.
I knew you'd have this on there. I didn't put him on there because I knew you'd have it on there. You love Sonic.
You may know.
You're like Sonic 3. I can't fucking wait. I'm like, seriously?
It's amazing. Really good movie.
I'm not doubting.
I'd put it up there with Titanic.
Is Titanic the higher one?
Wizard of Oz.
Okay. All right, there we go. Now we're talking.
All right. My number one shouldn't be a surprise for anyone else as well, because it's Mr. Mike Beltran himself.
Let's go.
Let's talk about
Frankie. God, you killed it. You killed it. I had no idea where you were going with that. I had no idea. I didn't even think of Mike Beltran.
I didn't think of it.
This guy has written the book on mustaches. John Waters is like, I don't have that level of commitment.
I don't think I want to go. I don't think I want to go anymore.
I didn't even think of Beltran. That's a slam dunk by you, Frankie.
Jesus, Frank, what a list. Wow, this is shades
the fourth wall row here.
Yeah,
I did this in 5 minutes on the train on the way.
Well, guess what?
Slam dunk.
You freaking.
All of you were like, "Oh, could you struggle with it?" No, I didn't.
Slam dunk, man.
I think about mustaches a lot.
Didn't even think of Mike Beltran. I didn't even.
Neither did I. How did we not think of him? Wow, Frankie.
Slam dunk. Slam dunk, Frank.
Unbelievable.
Rick,
unbelievable.
You're up next.
All right, I don't even want to go. Do I even go?
You have to go.
I don't want to.
Yeah, well, I had to.
He set the bar. I'm cooked. I'm fucking cooked. All right, I'm gonna go, but I'm just gonna like rush through this.
I still like my list, but I know it's nowhere near.
Nah. It's Frankie.
The Mike Beltran guy
destroyed it. The fucking the little twists in the thing. It's all the way down here.
Great call.
What are we doing?
Great call.
Here? All right, I'm just gonna go. I thought I'd like my list, but all right, number 5, Don Fry. Shout out to Don Fry.
Great stat.
Wait, don't do that.
Great stat.
Number 5, Don Fry. Befitting of one of the most like manly, rugged men of all time. There's a theme to my list here, and that is like over the years, right? Like there's evolutions, but what's key is you don't change it too much, right?
Sustainability, sustained greatness.
That's it. Frank had John Waters, but it was always the same mustache. It's the exact same. What's key here is like Don Fry over the years, the mustache didn't change drastically, but just the commitment to it and the different eras of the mustache are important. I mean, look at this manly man here. This is Americana right here.
That middle one with the American flag shorts is iconic. Americana.
Also, look at the fucking traps on this guy. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Prime Don Fry. That's a scary man. All right. Number 4, I actually share one with Frank. Dr. Robotnik. When I think of mustaches, it comes to me. Also, the key here is the versatility because we've got the cartoon, we've got the animated Dr. Robotnik. Even here, there's like different styles, right? Like there's the fanned out one. Then there's the kind of like wildy, like untamed one. We cut to Jim Carrey in the film. He's got like a combination here. It's a little bit wild. It's great. Also bald with the mustache, pulling it off though.
It's a tough look to pull off.
And he's
tough look.
He's doing it. So shout out to Dr. Robotnik. Shared that one with Frank. I think of that. This one's quite iconic. In fact, I'd say my remaining 3 are like some of the most iconic of all time.
I'd hope so.
Number 3, Hulk Hogan. You can't have this list without Hulk Hogan. Again, let's take a look over the years, right? We've got the like slimmer, younger man with the slim handlebar mustache.
That first one's a great look, man.
Like, look, I mean, with the glasses there. But then we cut to, okay, we've got the beard, the stubble, the 5 o'clock shadow with the bleach
yes, I was going to say
mustache.
The dark 5 o'clock shadow with the bleach blonde mustache that's a look.
NWO Hogan, epic era. And then we cut to like more contemporary Hogan, still going with the bleach blonde, but we've lost the 5 o'clock shadow, just a little more traditional. Think what you want of the man. That's a separate conversation. Mustache-wise, the mustache is on point. Number 2 had to be here for me. One of the mustaches that, outside of my father, who has always carried a mustache, one of the mustaches that has been in my life the longest and I've seen around the most. Julius Pringles. Shout out to Julius Pringles.
Great shout. Great shout here.
Over the years, the evolution of the mustache.
Sustained greatness.
1967 to present, just iconic mustache.
I love the color changes.
So much so that like the logo isn't much more than a mustache, to the point that now from 2021 to present, it is just a mustache and eyes.
Bro, I mean, honestly, from 2020, he lost his head in 2020.
It is just mustache. And
he lost his head.
I kind of respected those. If we could go back to that real quick, I kind of respected the 2002 to 2020, like the head was Pringle shaped. That was That was a good look.
Chip shape, yeah.
Good look. Yeah, lost his hair and everything, and the bow tie.
But that tells you the chip is almost secondary to the mustache. The mustache is the iconic look. Seen that cam many times, popped it, couldn't stop it. Shout out to Julius Pringles. Number one, this I knew my number one. The rest I didn't know. I knew my number one. Distinguished, classy, reliable, iconic, Canadian, the one and only Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
Had to be
a solid one.
The mustache of our lifetimes, the host of Jeopardy.
Look at that.
We have seen that mustache many times. Look at the evolution here. Look at the eras, the mop on top. We go to the little more kempt, but not quite fully, just a little dirty, a little messy, to the final evolution. Now, there was a beard at some point. Then we went back to the mustache because we knew that the fans were missing it. A legendary mustache, a legendary man. Shout out to Jeopardy host Alex Trebek. I mean, look at that.
The fro is just
on point.
Iconic.
On point. I felt really good about my list, but I defer. Frank, I'm bowing.
No, man, your list is really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Man. I mean, the Mike Beltran is going to be tough to top. Yeah. I'll give my best effort, though. Similar to Frank, I start my list at number 5 with an exquisite stash, eccentric, not your typical mustache that you see, mustache if you do prefer. I feel like that's how this man would say it. One Salvador Dali, the famous Spanish artist. If you haven't seen, takes a lot of work. He does a lot of crazy things with it. Very interesting mustache. Maybe we're feeling flowers at one day. We might as well throw a couple flowers on there. I mean, we got to get the crazy look with it. Twist it up tight. His commitment to the game over the years, as you said, is imperative to this one, and it really is an iconic mustache. Number 4, my second one that I'm going to list, a man that thirsts for exploration, a man that inspired many around the world to find their wild side, if I dare say, an icon of nations, I would say, and that is one, Nigel Thornberry. If you're not familiar,
I'm not familiar.
The intrepid explorer, Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberrys on Nickelodeon, one of the best mustaches known to man. I think I have another alt picture. He's wearing, that guy's tough to beat. That guy is tough to beat. If you know Nigel Thornberry, you know ball. This is for my mid to late 90s babies out there. Iconic mustache.
The kids.
Number 3.
But that was Tim Curry, according to Andy, that voiced him?
Oh, no shit. Really?
That's pretty, wow. That gives something for us 80s kids.
There you go. Number 3, I share it with Frank, diabetes. Quaker Oats, Wilford Brimley. Look at this guy. I mean, can you look at that? You ain't fucking with Wilford Brimley. You're about to tell him something he doesn't want to hear? Are you kidding me? And it's all settled in by that stash. The stash hides the expression. The stash keeps you from knowing his next move. Look at that. I don't know what this guy's going to do.
This looks like a man that you're giving Oreos to who's told you he has diabetes. He's like, what are you doing?
Anybody out there who gives Oreos to people with diabetes is a sinful man, is a disgusting man. I will say that much. That man, you don't know his next move. He's a loose cannon.
Like Vinicius Oliveira. The key to that is, I think that first picture we showed, he was probably like 45 there, but looked 75 because he was so stoned.
He came out of the womb looking like this.
This is how he looked when he was born.
You just told him something he doesn't want to hear, and he's making it known. And
do you think
90% of it is coming from the stash?
Do you think Wilford Brimley could beat Don Fry in a fight? I mean, it's possible, right?
Maybe.
Just based on that look.
You don't know the guy's next move. You don't know what he's going to do. It's just...
He's a loose cannon.
Next up, an activist. Someone that has changed lives, that has changed the environmental state of the world, I would say. An activist for not only the environment, but, I mean, trees as well. A savior, I would say, for one trees, and that is a one-name man. You got to put the in front of it, the Lorax. Take a look at that stash. Take a look at that stash. Look at that stash on the Lorax, man. He's all stash. There's nothing else going on in the face. Eyebrows, stash, and that's it. That's all the man's got. similar to Wilford Brimley, an orange version of Wilford Brimley. I mean, this man.
Wow, that's a great call.
The facial expressions are commanded by the mustache. There is no face without the
It's the same guy.
Okay. Is this a Dr. Seuss? What is the Lorax?
Yeah, it's a Dr. Seuss.
Okay, it's a Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
Got it.
So that's for my 1927 kids out there that grew up reading Dr. Seuss.
No, but the movie is more contemporary, right?
Yeah. That movie just came out recently.
Shout out to the Lorax.
Shout out to the Lorax. And then number one, like you said, a classic.
Okay.
Great call with Alex Trebek. I thought Nick Offerman maybe, but I had to go with another classic. A man who has had a mustache for generations. That is one Sam Elliott.
Oh, wow. Sam Elliott.
I thought of him
very
as well.
good.
Yeah.
It's look at that mustache.
Shit.
My God, with the cardigan, with the wool cardigan and the what is that?
Hair poking out.
Chest hair poking out with the knit polo, full head of hair, great head of hair, and a stash that could knock a man out. I mean, black, jet black, shaved to perfection. And then look at how it ages. Look at how it ages. Stoicism remains. There it is. The stoicism remains and the stash remains, ages to perfection. The white with the hair stays on top. Somehow the eyebrows get the saving grace of staying brown. They don't go white as well. Sam Elliott, an iconic mustache.
That's a fantastic
Best
one.
look was in The Big Lebowski. As soon as we said it, he's actually the first one that came on my mind, but I was like, you know what?
Okay, so that's interesting you say that because there's somebody who came to my mind first, and I'm surprised he's not on anybody's list. Tom Selleck, right?
Tom Selleck is a great one.
Chad definitely wants you to know that they agree.
Tom Selleck.
Look about Tom Selleck? Yeah. Tom Selleck.
Look at Tom Selleck, man.
God, also,
that's a stash.
is our mustaches like the pinnacle of manliness? Like we look at these, and I'm just like, I look at that picture of Sam Elliott. I'm like, yeah, that's a handsome, manly, rugged ass man.
If you're pulling off a mustache, it's one of the biggest power plays you can do as a man. I used to do the stash every month for Movember, and sometimes it was like you catch me in the right leg, I look good. There's a picture of me and Yuri Prohashka, and we're both doing the hand-up power pose, and I have a stash, and it might be my favorite picture I've ever taken in my entire life with the mustache. So when you have the stash and it's working for you, there's no one that can stop you.
Okay, important question.
Yeah.
Not for you, right?
Okay.
We're not talking about ourselves here, but like preference visual. Do we like the bushy full stash? Like the men that we're kind of talking here? Or what about like the swirlable, evil dastardly stash?
Yeah, I'm bushy full. Like that Sam Elliott young picture is like a peak mustache.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
pretty.
That is as good as a mustache gets.
It's pretty fantastic.
What about all the people with the mustache tattoos that they got in like the mid
hard pass?
2010s?
Yeah, hard.
I mean, do you think they regret it?
God, hard
Do
pass.
get
You
those
guys
covered up?
remember the glasses with like the little chain that would hang down and had the plastic mustache over it? Like
Bad times.
This is like 2009.
Well,
the reason I bring that up is because Rick was talking about the swirly thing. Like that almost became a hipster type.
Yeah,
of doing it ironically.
Very, very hipster.
So now it's like we need to be further away from that before we could start appreciating how
I feel like every barber started in like 2009. The logo was just the swirly mustache.
But mustaches got a moment, and my read on that was like it felt like a Ron Burgundy, Ron Swanson kind of like moment, right?
Yeah.
Like mustaches were in for a moment with that.
Yeah, Ron Burgundy, great stash. That's got to be fake on Will Ferrell, right? Yeah. Nick Offerman, real stash, great stash.
Iconic stash, yeah.
Iconic stash. I mean, he basically gets roles. He gets
it had like it was part of mustaches became a part of culture, and now they're kind of like back out. It's not.
Honorable mentions, Borat.
Oh
Borat,
yeah, for sure.
Fantastic mustache. I mean, look at that. How can you top that right there? Mario.
How did none of us have Mario?
The plumber.
Look
at that. I mean, iconic stash. Have you ever seen a picture of him without it? I know we don't have it, but without it, he's a naked man.
Okay, but here's the not so hot take, because I think people will agree. Wario superior stash.
Wario's great stash.
Superior with the zigzag stash.
Yosemite Sam.
Iconic stash.
Like he's all mustache. Is there anything? I feel like mustache is a body part. What is even going on there?
That is literally his face is just a mustache.
Yeah, it's just all goes into one. You can't even see the skin. It's just all stash. Sneaky Mark Twain. Mark Twain is an author. Fantastic.
Historic stashes are good. We could have had more. Mark Twain, Einstein.
Look at
their
that
stashes.
Stash. Einstein, great stash. Look at Mark Twain. That's a power stash right there. Like that man's up to something. Einstein, great one. I don't know if Jordan's going to be able to pull this because the names. General Ambrose Burnside, Civil War general. All-time stash.
That's a deep
cut.
Oh,
deep. I mean, I'm a mustache connoisseur. This man hangs in the halls. Look at that thing. He said, I'm turning the sideburns into the stash.
He actually had a beard, but it kept getting in his soup, and he's like, no,
can't do it.
Just the mustache.
Can we also just talk about the respect of back in the day? We're just riding the cul-de-sac out. The hairline is not receding anymore. It has receded. It has completely receded, and we're just hanging on to the sides. We're letting the mustache go right into it.
Horrible head shape, real bad hair, but the attention all goes to the mustache. Yeah. So
it's a power move. It's a power play. Emiliano Zapata, a Mexican revolutionary.
Nice.
With I don't think he would have been able to lead his troops without that stash.
Yes,
that's
a sick
stash, man. That is a mustache right there. Man, respect to that. Frank, you're going to know the name of this. Philosopher Friedrich
Nietzsche.
There it is. Friedrich Nietzsche. I knew I was going to fumble it. He also has an incredible mustache. I mean, look at that thing. We had to get a portrait out for that one, but like the painter took some time on that mustache.
Yeah. Walrus.
I'm down with the walrus. Ned Flanders.
Shout out.
Can't go mustache list without mentioning Ned Flanders. Andy Reid.
Oh yeah,
coaching this weekend.
Sports stashes.
On putting the world on notice for mustaches. Kind of bald and stash look. He's got a little
Bald's
bit.
not going so hot for Andy there.
Not gonna lie to you, pretty bold of you to call out Andy Reid. Helwani's been having a rough 2 weeks here.
Listen, just because his team lost to him doesn't mean I can't appreciate a man's mustache, okay? Teddy Roosevelt leading a nation behind a powerful stash. You got to show love to that. Mike Ditka with the sweater vest. Coaching the damn Chicago Bears? Are you kidding me? With the slick back? That's tough to top right there. That is a look and a half. Shout out to Mike Ditka. Bob from Bob's Burgers. That's another great one. We said Alex Trebek. Yeah, look at that one. I want a burger from that guy. I trust that. We said Alex Trebek.
So one actually came to mind when we started thinking about this. And I pulled him up, and I was like, wait a minute. This is like the opposite of a mustache, but I think that was the intent. It's Wayne Static from Static X, rest in peace. Look at this. He's like all hair minus the mustache. So it was like this idea. And I'm like, this popped in my head.
Frank, you realize that there's a whole like sect of MMA that is mustacheless, like the Dagestan fighters all have
but they don't do the
beard and no mustache.
Hair at the top. Like,
of course.
You gotta
like
go.
Makhachev.
You could have just went to literally all the guys that we talk about on a daily basis. But no, that other rock and roll guy that nobody's ever heard of, that's for sure.
Nobody's heard of Wayne
Can I
Static.
just say, I'm really surprised nobody said Freddie Mercury.
Yes, Freddie Mercury, shout out. Great stash. Else? I think I might have. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, for
shout
sure.
Out, God bless America. Look at that. We got the Floridian outlet. Oh, man! Shirley with the chest, with the taco meat out, smoking a cig. Look at that. That's tough to beat. That's tough to beat right there.
You named nearly all the ones I had on my honorable mentions. A few that I had. Uncle Creepy. MMA fans will know. Uncle Creepy had the Ian McCall fighter. He had the swirly kind of Snidely Whiplash, who's another one from cartoons back in the day, who had that kind of swirly one. The Monopoly guy, shout out to Uncle Pennybags, Uncle Moneybags, whatever the hell his name is. Monopoly guy.
Also the Quaker Oats guy.
The Quaker no, does he have a mustache?
I just wanted to fuck you guys.
I don't think he does.
I think he does.
Let's look this up.
I don't think the Quaker Oats guy that. No stash.
No stash.
Killed the list, Frank.
Quaker?
Not this segment.
Yeah.
Quaker Oats, like
you're not doing so hot.
Quaker Oats guy, like low key, kind of looks like my mother. A nice, loving face. Like
what an odd development.
Hair like very similar length to my mom. Like the Quaker Oats guy and my mom. Like
your mom is either gonna love this comparison or absolutely hate this comparison, and I don't want to know which.
A nice, loving face. I'm not kidding you. Actually, like I hadn't looked at the Quaker Oats guy in a minute. I buy store brand. Times are tough, you know.
Did you know that's Wilford Brimley?
No. I'm looking at the Wilford Brimley ad right now and why he eats Quaker Oats a spoonful at a time to bring his cholesterol down. Quaker Oats guy, sneaky looks like my mom. Shout out.
Wow, that is
your mom's not going to be happy.
Wild. If I ever said that about my mom, I think she'd come here and kill me. Okay, you mentioned a lot of them. Here's one that you didn't that I think is really up there and is making a run at like iconic status. Steve Harvey.
Oh, great stash.
Steve Harvey has a hell of a stash, and he's been committed to that for a bit with the dyeing it. It is jet black right above that lip. Now he's got the bald, so you look at him and all you see is mustache.
And I think, as time goes on and as his time eventually passes, he'll be viewed as one of the greatest mustaches of our generation.
For sure, an all-time mustache. The Wizard from The Wizard of Oz, naturally the greatest film ever made, and The Wizard. And then, you being insensitive to Ariel Helwani and mentioning the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, like deplorable. Obviously, Josh Allen grows a great mustache. Shout out to Josh Allen, a tremendous football player for Ariel's Buffalo Bills. And I just thought that was disrespectful by you. So I will counter that by mentioning Josh Allen, who Ariel's a big fan of.
Wow.
I was just chugging water.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I think Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes grows a good stash.
Jordan, I think, said he had more.
This one's a shout out to Andy, one of her favorite movies.
Hook.
Made the list last week as well.
Wow, a back-to-back lister on Hook.
I really do feel like we leaned toward, outside of Dolly, we leaned toward the full bush. We leaned toward the big bold caterpillar on the lip, as opposed to the more curated.
Yeah, respect the bushy tailed up top. Gotta love it.
God damn it, Frank! What a list.
Mustache? A milk mustache?
Yeah, Stone Cold milk mustache, not bad. Kermit milk mustache.
Here's the problem, though. Stone Cold's got a killer goatee underneath.
Yeah.
All-time goatee list. Stone Cold's fucking number one, if not, he's up there.
Yeah.
He's got the killer goatee, but the milk mustache kind of.
It was a marketing ploy to get us to drink.
It worked.
Calcium
I cared, but
I can't remember the last time I put down a nice glass of a white.
Literally in Sean Strickland's tweet. Mr. Potato Head.
Oh,
Mr. Potato Head, great.
Mr. Potato Head.
Great stash on him.
Fake though, even in the meta of the universe, he is it's not even his stash. He's putting it on. I don't know. I got to dock him points. I got to dock him points there.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah. You guys missed the best one.
What's the best
Chris Hines.
Wow. Shout out
to Chris Hines.
Shout out to Chris Hines, a man behind the scenes who the show wouldn't run without him. So shout out to Mr. Chris Hines.
That's a great one.
Mustache on him. Fantastic.
The smile, $1 million.
Oh, $1 million. How can you not smile with a mustache?
That's our boy.
All right. That was pound for pound best mustaches. Frank, do we got any super chats to close us out,
Oh, yeah, we do.
Let's rip them.
So Tom S. writes, who wins in a fight, Gaziev versus Pantoja or Asakura?
No. Gaziev versus Pantoja and Asakura.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm going to say because of how high level Pantoja and Asakura are, the size will be useless for Gaziev, and the speed of Pantoja and Asakura, it's a cakewalk.
Nah, he's going to lift them up and toss them around. I'm going Gaziev.
Throws one off, deals with the other.
We saw, who was it? The British guy, the world's strongest man who's fighting.
Eddie?
Yeah, Eddie, God, whatever.
Eddie Hearn.
Not Eddie Hearn. Yeah, I'm going with Gaziev.
Okay, all right. You're going
Gaziev. Tossing around the little guys.
I'm going Asakura Pantoja. Great question, though. It's a great question.
Benjamin Turk asks, who was the movie bully comp to DDP? I was thinking dude from Spider-Man with
Toby.
There's too many B's.
I know, but we knew what he was saying.
We know. O'Doyle? The brother from Home Alone? I'm lacking here. I'm getting a little too comfortable.
I didn't have a list ready for this, so I feel like I'm out of sorts. I don't know. I can't think of a great one off the top of my head because I have to go back to 80s comedy era.
Anybody ever watch the TV show Recess?
No.
Yeah, it reminds me of the bully from Recess. Shout out.
Salute Your Shorts.
Oh, Salute Your Shorts was great. Loved me some Salute Your Shorts.
Zach writes, have y'all watched any good shows, movies lately? I would like you to see about Salute Your Shorts. That's a great one.
I actually haven't. But we did get into a heated debate the other day. Rick and Jordan in the control room both hate Lord of the Rings. They say it's trash.
Yeah, it's not good.
I did just watch Silo. For those of you that haven't seen it, I do recommend it. Seasons 1 and 2 just wrapped. These guys are always talking about, what is it, Traitors? Is that
Traitors?
The Traitors, yeah.
I'm hearing Severance is good. Read a book, Project Hail Mary. That was good.
Nah, books.
I'm going to go see a movie. What movies are in theaters tonight?
Okay, so there's something out right now that I really am dying to see. There's a horror movie called Hard Eyes starring my boy Devin Sawa. I'm really excited to see that one. I've also heard Companion is really good. I'm really excited to see that one. Some things I have seen already. We've talked about Nosferatu. We talked about The Substance. I love those. Conclave, also a good one.
Paddington in Peru.
Paddington in Peru.
Why is he in Peru?
A Real Pain, directed by Jesse Eisenberg, who also stars in it opposite Kieran Culkin. Fantastic film. If you're a fan of The Challenge, All Star Season 5 is just starting up. Episode 2 was last night. I mean, it's the best show on television. It's one of the longest running. It's the combination of drama inside the house and athletic competition and everything in between. It's the greatest series ever. You could get into that. There's a lot of stuff. Oh, yesterday we got into a thing. The entire control room, everybody has never seen The Raid. And so this is my gift. This is my gift to the world. See The Raid. See The Raid. See The Raid 2. It's incredible. It's a thrill ride. And this came up because we were contrasting with the immense amount of walking that happens in the Lord of the Rings and nothing else happening. In The Raid, it's all fighting. It's the greatest thing that you'll ever see. So go see The Raid. It's not new, but it's great.
I just can't even address the walking allegation.
Just if it wasn't a point that they make in Clerks 2, I would actually think it's kind of funny, but it's been 20 years I've heard this joke.
Yeah, because in 20 years nothing has changed. It's still a lot of
that's coming from you, Frank, who reuses jokes again and again and again despite them not hitting.
Is that true? Luke Hercules writes, "Shout out GC for accepting my LinkedIn connection."
Shout out to you, Luke. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you reaching out.
That's a dangerous game right there.
For those that don't know, Connor will accept your LinkedIn.
See, why would you have to say that, Frank? Why would you go and say
the thing is, I will accept anyone, but the messages are tough to get to. There's a lot of messages. I rarely read them.
You are going to be getting LinkedIn requests from people who have zero to do with your industry right now. You're just going to be open season.
Yeah, it's pick of the litter too on messages. I choose to read one every 6 months. So shout out to LinkedIn.
24-inch Dubs actually writes, "How do the boys fight through the snow?" To which I have to say, we will rebuild.
Yeah, it's a good point by you, Frankie. It wasn't bad. It was just nasty. It was slop. That's the only. It was just that brown, black slop everywhere. Big puddles. It was just nasty.
To call it snow would be incorrect.
It was an inch of snow and then sleet and ice.
It was rain, and if anybody had missed work for that, it would have been unacceptable.
Yeah, it was just an unpleasant experience. That's all I'll put it.
Elijah Dream. What's the over-under for shoeys consumed at watch party?
I'm down to do one.
Do we do it?
I'll do one. So if he does one and I do one, that's over 1.5.
Do we drink out of our actual shoes? What do we do?
All right, so I'll say I did the one at the restaurant for the Fight Feast, and you put your shoe back on and it's cold. It's not. It goes down so fast you don't even really recognize it. It's just cold.
What are the stakes? What are the circumstances upon which we do a shoey? How do we?
We could do the Zhang Tatiana fight.
Because we're on opposite sides? Oh, loser does a shoey?
Yeah, loser does a shoey.
I thought we were going to be celebratory. I thought we were going to be we did it.
If the Parlay Pals hit.
Done. That's
Parlay
it.
Pals
That's
hit, we
the
do
one.
a shoey.
That's the one.
Yeah. All right, Parlay Pals hit, we do a shoey.
Kelowna City.
Legend.
Fellas,
$20.
Christ, $20.
My buddy just got dumped. Had to move out of the spot with the girl and back home with his parents. He's really torn up. What is the best way to get over a heartbreak during this time around Valentine's Day? Thanks. I almost feel there's something insulting in there somewhere.
Yeah, there's certain. You
can't trust Kowloon City. You cannot trust Kowloon City.
He's
right around Valentine's Day, ignore Valentine's Day. That's option number one.
Or just do anything else. I feel that's very specific and dependent upon that is the only plan you could possibly have. Do literally anything else.
Or you try to capitalize on sad singles and get with one of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
You go on Instagram and you show pictures of your dog.
Whoa, I didn't. Hi.
This feels very devious, Frank. There's something about that sounded very
something
new.
Yeah, the way
people are I don't have anyone to spend Valentine's Day with, so here's my puppy.
Oh, you're just showing okay, I got it.
Oh, okay.
It's just feel good. It's just
also the way you said that.
Yeah, you
get on
it
Instagram
real
and show
weird.
pictures of your dog.
Of your dog.
Okay.
Joshua Freeman.
Oh, shout out Josh.
Pound for pound, WWE superstar.
Oh, that's a great
Rick
one.
Rude.
I got to refresh my memory though.
Oh, that's a great
that is
one.
A good one.
Look at that stash.
The mustache itself is rude.
With the mullet, that is fantastic, man. Unreal look. Anything else, Frank?
Elijah Dream asks, no Vince.
Nah, they're good, but
It's
not great.
It's a good shout. I called out Uncle Creepy. I should have also for sure said Eddie Wineland. By the end, he had a real good twirly stash.
Shout out.
Keto Key, shout out Don Vito Corleone. That mustache is great.
Hey, shout out to Don Vito Corleone.
For sure.
Man, great movie. Great movie.
And Mason Bickner sends us home with, can we please get someone to show
Raleigh Fingers? I think we did show Raleigh Fingers earlier.
Shout out.
Jordan's pretty sure he did.
There he is again. Is that Raleigh Fingers? I don't know who Raleigh Fingers
is. Pitcher who really made that twirly one work for a long time.
All right, that sounds like it'll just about do it for us. 2.5 hours in the can. UFC 312. Jake Paul. No Alvarez.
Insane. Jon Jones partnering up with forgot the name of it.
Power to the Patience.
Power to the Patience.
Apollo Creed. That's another good one. Shout out Tarzan. Shout out to everyone watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Crack tomorrow right here on this same very channel, and then on this same channel on Saturday night, we'll be doing a watch party for UFC 312 from right here in more comfortable seats. Will we do a shoey? Gonna have to find out.